everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Talk Movies podcast with me, John, and David, aka Shamrock Balls. And happy Halloween, everyone. And actually, it's funny, this lined up perfectly. We couldn't have planned this any better if we tried, because today we're going to be talking about what can now is considered just an all-time classic film, 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween. And David, take the lead on this one.
Yeah, well, before I start, John, do you think this is going to be a good episode?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, it's going to take a lot more than fancy talk to keep me up all night doing a Halloween podcast.
I was wondering where you're going to go with this one.
Yeah, well, I could have just went totally.
Oh my God. We'll get into that dialogue and everything that is wrapped up in this film.
Definitely. And one of the words that have been pointed out by my brother that I always say is exactly. So I don't know if I can pick on PG shows for that, but
well, she knew what she was doing. That's at least something that she can acknowledge. She either started or ended every sentence with totally.
Yeah, totally. And but yeah, Halloween. So this is basically the movie that gave birth to the slasher subgenre, John. But however, there's some debate whether it was actually Black Christmas. I like to think it was Psycho. However, I can see that that it was Halloween that set the formula for the teens being stalked and killed by a psychotic killer. So after this movie, there was a slew of horror movies in similar vein, most notably Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, mainly because they were cheap to make and maximized profit.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of look at this as kind of where the 80s subgenre of the slasher came out of. Not necessarily the first slasher. I kind of agree with you, like Peepin' Tom and Psycho kind of start the formula.
Yeah.
You had Black Christmas in the mid 70s, which is funny because the director of Black Christmas said that he kind of had inspired a little bit John Carpenter with this movie.
Yeah, well, I heard that he had, I don't know if he told John Carpenter, but he had mentioned that if he was to ever make a sequel to Black Christmas, he would set it on Halloween.
Yep, which I always thought was pretty funny, that he actually said he would set it on Halloween and have the guy who was now in a mental institution escape from that mental institution and go out on a killing spree where he was the year before, which is kind of what happens here. I also find it really interesting that the actual Halloween title had never been used before. It's really funny that they got that lucky to actually have that name because it sells itself.
Yeah, well, the thing about the guy that done Black Christmas, I can't remember his name. He was asked about that comment, and he basically said, "Look, I said it, but I don't think that's what influenced him. I don't think he could remember." So, but we can get into the production of that. But first of all, how I actually came to Halloween was, I mean, as you said, classic, iconic horror movie. One of those ones that you grew up hearing about. I don't specifically remember anybody being really say obsessed with Halloween or loving the Halloween franchise where I grew up, John. As I said, when I was young, it was more Freddy Krueger was the one that the kids talked about. And you'd heard about other ones like Friday the 13th and all, but I think the first time I ever came to it was I was in HMV one day and looking for DVDs to buy, and I came across, I think it's the 25th anniversary edition of Halloween, and that's actually a double disc edition which had the TV cut on it and a load of bonus features and things like that. So that was the first time I actually watched Halloween, and it was one of them ones. I remember I said I was kind of like a horror snob back then when I was in my late teens, early 20s. So I'd seen Psycho and I'd seen Nightmare on Elm Street, and I might have seen Friday the 13th. I think I seen it on TV when I was a mid-teenager. So I was one of these ones that you have to watch the classics. The originals are the best. Watch the classics. Don't bother with those old silly sequels. So it was a long time before I actually like Psycho. Even to the point of, well, I was always interested in the Elm Street sequels because I grew up watching some of them. But it was a long time since I watched any of the Halloween sequels. And that was in the same kind of vein of those movies, that these were the originals. These were like the trailblazers as such. These were the movies that changed the genre and advanced it forward. And to say, I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Halloween. I do enjoy it. And I recognize its status within the pantheon of horror.
Yeah, I feel like I'm actually kind of in the similar boat as you when it comes to that. Like we talked about with Scream, and this is a great companion piece to Scream because it's like this one started the subgenre, and Scream like saved that subgenre. And obviously, they have similarities in the film structure, which we'll get into. But
Yeah.
I kind of came to this I in the DVD era too. Like I knew about Halloween, but I had never seen it. And then I actually asked my mom to rent it for me around the Halloween season one year, and she brings home Halloween 2. So I saw Halloween 2 first, and then when she returned that, she brought back Halloween, and I was able to watch Halloween for the first time. And like you, I never was the biggest Halloween fan. I would always put this like the franchise itself, like number 3 behind like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, which I always saw those films before. And I had fun with it, and I was like, oh, that's good, but I never really was like somebody who like put this like on the pedestal of like the greatest horror film of all time. I actually liked other John Carpenter films more than this, and I've
Mhm.
even said before on this channel, so I'm not going to deny it, that I like Halloween 3 more than I like the original Halloween. But
Mhm.
without the original, we don't have that, and we also don't have so many other films that throughout the 1980s ripped off this film.
Yeah, and I kind of felt the same. I don't even think I'd seen any other John Carpenter films when I first watched this. I mean, 25th anniversary. I think it's either it might even be the 20th anniversary, John, that I have on DVD. It's probably the 20th anniversary, and so that was in around the late 90s. So I was, to be honest with you, at that particular time, as I've said before, is that you know, I was always like fascinated by horror. I never realized that I was a fan of horror, because there was that kind of restriction from my parents to access horror movies. But like obviously being a big Jaws fan and watching those movies throughout the 80s and 90s, and then kind of like then watching Psycho, like I was more of a Psycho fan. Like I just when I first seen the original Psycho, I thought it was absolutely, even in the this was like the late 90s, even though it was 30 years old, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Just the setup, how it was filmed, um the editing, the big reveal, just everything about it. I loved it. So when Halloween came along, I just felt as if, like, I remember when we done Scream, I had said like Scream defined the horror of the 90s. Well, this movie here, even though the 70s had some great horror movies like The Exorcist, you could argue The Exorcist defined horror of the 70s. You can talk about Carrie, you can talk about The Omen, you can talk about Jaws or Alien, all great genre films, but this is the one which defined the slasher movie, basically. And because of that, if you had like, you know, horror movies that you must see in your lifetime, then I agree that this has to be on there.
Yeah, like this is such an important film to the genre that when we talked about Scream last week, we had to keep talking about Halloween because it set the formula. It set up the rules of what would become this very popular subgenre in the 80s, like almost and throughout the 1990s, like the sleepover kind of movies, like watching the entire franchise. You got to watch Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it becomes this whole other thing. But the original one is so important, just like Psycho, because it's important to the entire genre of horror. But unlike Psycho, I would always say it's a little bit less rewatchable for me personally. I think Psycho is one that you
Yeah.
can go back to because I started out, I would say, as like a big horror fan because of like when I was younger, I would watch these like with my cousins and I loved them. But as I've gotten older, I'm more of a film fan, I would say. Like I like all
Mhm.
genres more than I just like horror. Like horror is
Yeah.
like something like now I go back and I watch it and it's fun to watch around the season. But this isn't something I would say like I get the most enjoyment out of anymore.
Yeah. I find with this movie, John, this is the type of movie that I might watch once a year, maybe once every couple of years. I find I get the most out of it watching it late on a Halloween night. Do you know when Halloween is kind of winding down? There's no more trick or treaters at the door. And if it's a dry night, or even if it's not, you can smell. That there's that smell in the air,
That
the autumn,
crisp air.
the crisp air, but it's the autumn air mixed with like the smell of like the residue of fireworks just after fireworks being fired, and
Uh-huh.
everything's just got quiet, and we're drawn in for the night. And I find this movie for me, that's when it's most enjoyable for me. I would find it very odd watching this movie any other time. I mean, maybe on a Halloween Eve, the night before, something like that. But I find it very odd. It's the type of movie that because it is such a genre movie, it's like us talking about watching Christmas movies off season. I couldn't sit down and watch this on a summer's night. It just doesn't hit me the same way. I just don't feel right watching that. Whereas like them other horror movies, Exorcist, Psycho, things like that, you can watch any time of the year. And that's what one of the great things that John Carpenter captured in this was that mood and atmosphere.
Yeah, I would say that's the driving force of the entire movie, and why you can watch it like on October 30th or the 31st, because it feels like Halloween. That he captured the actual autumn feeling, despite the fact, which we'll get in the production a little
Yeah.
bit, not even filmed in autumn or in a town that you would even consider an autumn town, not filmed in Illinois, which, to be able to capture that just by doing things with the camera and just setting up, just the production is impressive. It's actually incredibly impressive because it really does fit the holiday, which is something that I always look for around this time of the year, is something that fits the holiday or fits that autumn feel, that like crisp air feel, like a movie that can match well with it. And I think Halloween does do that.
Yeah, it definitely does. And funny, just thinking, I'd actually asked my mum about this at the weekend, because when I first watched Halloween all them years ago, I don't know how I come up in conversation, but she had actually said to me that this was the scariest movie that she'd ever seen. It
Really?
terrified her. Yes,
Oh,
and
you know
she,
what? My dad said the same exact thing. I swear to God, he doesn't watch horror movies anymore, and he hates horror movies because of this movie. He like ran home from
yeah,
a sleepover because he saw this movie, and like he never watched horror movies again. And I was like, really, this movie?
yeah, and like she has not been able to watch it again ever since. And even hearing the music or seeing Michael Myers' face, she can't look at it. And I remember her telling me years ago that it was because when she was a child, that her parents used to tell her to behave or tell her to come in. You know, when the kids are playing outside and they don't want to come in from playing with their friends, they used to say, "Well, you got to come in before the boogeyman gets you." That's
Ah,
what they used to tell her when she was young. And so I asked her at the weekend, when we're doing this pod, we're doing Halloween. Do you remember this? You still can't watch this movie? She says no. And I asked her a few things about it, and she just says she doesn't know why this affected her in the way it did. She thinks it's because the thoughts of somebody being in the house and you not knowing they're there, and they're there to cause you harm, um, to the point where you have to check under your bed before you go to sleep.
yeah, that's something that I guess, you know what? This is something we've talked about on previous pods, is that maybe it's something we can't put ourselves back in like the shoes of the people of that time, like these babysitters that are, doing the same exact thing. It's got to be scary as hell to think like, you're just there watching the kids and somebody could break in the house and try and kill you. That's got to be petrifying.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, because me being a big Jaws fan, she always used to say to me, "I don't know what's so scary about Jaws." And I said that to her when we were talking at the weekend. I says, "You know what?" I says, "I understand where you're coming from." I says, "But if you were a swimmer and you were a surfer and you watched Jaws for the first time, the next day you go out into that water, the first thing you'd be thinking of, you'd be hesitant and go, 'Oh shit, should I go out there?'" It's because she's not a swimmer or a surfer, but something like this, everybody can kind of relate to that, being at home alone,
Mhm.
at nighttime when it's dark, and maybe getting weird phone calls, or and all of a sudden, or you see a window open and you think, oh, is somebody come through that window, or is there somebody in the house? So you go and switch on the lights and you check under the beds, you check in the closets. Everybody can kind of relate to that. Not everybody maybe can go relate swimming in the ocean. Many people actually encounter or go in the ocean or encounter a shark, or I was even talking about, for example, like The Exorcist. It might hit people who are very religious, but people who aren't religious, who don't believe in God or anything like that, then watching a little girl possessed probably doesn't faze them at all. It's just make believe. But people that are very, very religious, they may believe in that.
Yeah, that's very petrifying. I think when we did The Exorcist, I said the stuff that scared me most in The Exorcist was those medical scenes, and seeing that like freaked
Yeah,
me out. That gets under my skin more than like the actual religious stuff. But yeah, people are fainting in the theaters. You gotta, again, they go back 50 something years and like think about how people were at the time and how the world was. It's a completely different thing. Like this movie, like these people would be texting each other, but they just have phone calls to each other, and that's it. That's the only way to communicate. The parents aren't around. It's a whole different ball game, and it probably scared the hell out of kids at the time.
yeah, and that was the funny thing. I don't know if I mentioned it in our Exorcist podcast. Was when I delved into it, that was the myth. The people that were running out of the cinema and being sick and fainting, it was at the medical scenes. It wasn't even at the other stuff.
Yeah, I think you did bring that up when we were talking about it. Because yeah, I mean, like they really go in there and like the way they shoot it's like a document. It's William Freakin, like a documentary, and that
Mhm.
stuff just looks really disgusting and raw and real. And it always bothers me those scenes.
Yeah. So, but you had said about Scream there. Sorry, we'd done Scream in our last podcast, and I must have watched Scream about 2 times, and give or take, taking notes, maybe three. But then when I was watching, but we all know that Kevin Williamson was heavily influenced by this movie, and but I noticed, but doing Halloween this week, I noticed a lot more stuff in it that is kind of very similar to the Scream.
I wonder if we noticed the same things.
Actual scenes where you go,
Yeah.
he done his own version of that scene, not just the car park scene or the garage scene. He done his own version.
I mean, the
Um,
the babysitter like calling on the phone. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis saying like what time they're gonna meet up. It's
yes,
7 o'clock in Scream. It's 6:30 in this movie. So it's like that's the exact. And then I think the angle's
same.
the same way. I think the camera's facing the same way on their faces on Nev Campbell and Jamie Lee Curtis's face.
Yeah, well, I noticed that about the same. It's like, oh, the phone call from your best friend, I'll come and pick you up. You
Mhm.
know, and there was probably a few more things that aren't springing to mind at the minute, John. But as I say, before we get into production, as I say, it is one of those movies as well that it did spark this subgenre of slasher movies. And I actually think, as I say, I mentioned earlier, the main reason it done that, the main reason it was so influential, is because it was so cheap to make and it made a lot of money. And that's the
Mhm.
only reason why. But this was a subgenre that was a bright spark, that shone very brightly, but for a short period. Because
Mhm.
basically by the mid 80s, it was on a downward trajectory. It was on its way out. The slasher subgenre was on its way out, and by the 90s, it was dead. And as we mentioned in Scream then brought that back in a more meta, self-referential type of way. But this is basically where it started. But I do have to point out as well that Jaws 2 done the Teenagers in Peril before Halloween.
You're right. They absolutely did.
Yeah. And that was just to get that kind of audience in to watch the movie. The producers went, we want a younger audience to come in and watch our movie.
Yeah, this is the key to this is definitely fun was at the forefront too of this movie. Like that's what they were trying to go for, and they kind of knew it. Like they knew exactly like what kind of movie they were making when they were making it.
I do have in our production here, the budget was $300 to $325,000, but it was the executive producer, Erwin Yablans, wanted to do a low budget horror film based around babysitters who are stalked by a psychotic killer on Halloween night and call it Halloween. So you were saying there that you were surprised that the name had never been used before.
Yeah, I was, and I always believed, and I think I even brought it up last week that they wanted to call this movie "The Babysitter Murders," and that's what it was like subtitled before they ever started. But it was always called Halloween. Like when they got the script, they wanted to call it Halloween. So I was proven wrong in my research on this.
Yeah, well, the thing is too as well is that Halloween is one of those. It's very very popular movie. Um, there's been so much said about it and written about it, and like I said about The Exorcist, myths then get built up. And this idea that the director of Black Christmas suggested this, and then John Carpenter run with it. It turns out that the executive producer was the one who actually came up with it. It wasn't John Carpenter.
Yeah, no, the name was like given to them as they wrote the screenplay because if I'm correct, John they read the way they got John Carpenter and Deborah Hill was like he basically said, "I'll do it for $300,000, but you gotta what's it called? I get final cut of the movie." He got to write the movie, the whole thing for them to like produce the movie, be like just their movie, but they had to keep it at like $300,000. Like that was the deal, and he got paid 10,000 if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. What actually happened was Yablans had produced Assault on Precinct 13. So when he came up with this idea of doing this low budget horror movie, he wanted Carpenter to direct it. So he went to the Carpenter and says, would you do it? And Carpenter says, as long as I have complete creative control and you put my name above the title. But it was Carpenter then, he was the one suggested to him, I can do this for 300K or 300,000K. 300, that's the same thing. 300K.
Yeah, it's the same
300,000K. What's that
thing.
there? 300,000? Sorry, I have a cold, so my brain isn't working properly. But it was him that suggested I can do this for 300K and I can film it in 4 weeks. And Ublan says, if you can do it for that, he couldn't believe it. He was like, make a movie for 300K? Really? And he went, yep. And he says, if you can do it for that, you can have final cut, and you can have whatever you want. So it was hit, and you're right, his fee was, or they paid him 10K. But Erwin Ublan's partner, Mustafa Akkad, he was initially reluctant because he thought the same. How can you make a movie for 300K? But because it was so small, he greenlit it. Greenlit it. He went, all right, well, he funded it.
Yeah. What's the risk if you're going to actually be able to get it, produce it, and put it out there? And he believes he can do it and he can compose it. Why not give it a try? It's $300,000 if you have the money.
Yeah, so he probably seen it like low risk, high reward.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Which
it
is,
did pay it off. So
yeah, which is basically then the concept from there on out with the slasher movies.
Still to this day, I feel like the horror genre is filled with films like this, where it's like a low budget film that always pays off. You know, it's just the studios are always chasing that high risk but the higher reward. They can never really
Yeah.
settle into just doing like $4 million pictures that might only get a $12 million return. They just can't accept that. They'll always turn a profit, but it's like it's too little of a profit because they're greedy.
But do you ever notice that in a lot of these horror movies, and probably as well with like indie movies and things like that, but horror movies that do break new ground and push the genre forward are generally independent movies, and the reason they're low budget is because it is like independent filmmakers making them. They've got a fresh idea and they want to make them, and basically they can't get their hands on millions of dollars to make their movie, so they have to compromise. And what actually happens is that then it's picked up by a studio to distribute, and then they jump on the bandwagon. Whatever's popular, they like the slasher genre to a certain extent. It's like Scream. Everybody wanted their own Scream when Scream came out. Everybody wanted their own Halloween when Halloween came out. Everybody wanted their own Jaws when Jaws came out. Then there's certain movies that studios do throw money at, or they'll say, well, we'll give you this amount because we want maximum profit. We won't give, but it's still more than probably what it took to make Halloween.
Yeah, they're not understanding. It's like forced creativity. The $300,000 that they got, like, we have to make this movie, but we have to make it under this amount of money, and it forces people to be creative. Like when you give people an unlimited amount of budget, there's a reason why those films usually turn out bad. It's because now someone's mind is just going full bore without somebody stopping them. When John Carpenter's making this movie, he knows that I only can do this 1 or 2 takes with this amount of stuff. I only have this person for this amount of time. It forces you to be creative, and it creates a film like this. And it's just, you don't get that in like the more big budget films. And it's like the studios never can understand that. It's like they just want, when you try and put people in a bubble, like give me the Halloween, it's like, okay, and now you're already taking creativity away from them.
Yeah, and it's like another one springs to mind is Paranormal Activity.
100%. Like those are just the found footage. That's it. They're using camcorders.
Yeah, or the Blair Witch. You know what I mean? That wasn't a new concept. It just wasn't popular. Done before and just never went anywhere. But this Blair Witch actually, done so well that all of a sudden you had not as many as the slasher genre, but you had a load of like found footage movies come out after that. Even Paranormal Activity, those type of movies come out after that, and it came from low budget independent filmmakers, very small concept, terrifying people, and studios jumping on the bandwagon and saying we want a piece of the action.
Yeah, and it always kinds of ruins it. I also like in the early days of like when John Carpenter was doing this, he kind of worked with the same people who would also like kind of be integral and through the entire early part of the franchise, like all the way through like Halloween 3, like Deborah Hill, Tommy Lee Wallace, Nick Castle. Yeah. I love that they're all on set for this kind of stuff, and like they're all kind of know each other. It just seems like a group of friends kind of making a movie thing, and I feel like that's also what John Carpenter liked to do. Just kind of like make movies with his buddies. Like that's why I feel like they still produce the other movies, but they kind of wanted off like the actual being there on set every day kind of thing after this one, because they kind of made their movie.
Yeah, well, like a bunch of film students making a movie and doing what they love. And he did say himself that this was the most fun he ever had making a movie. And you're right, he was surrounded by there was people that worked on this movie who didn't get paid, and they worked for 40 days and they didn't get any sleep. And as you say, they were improvising and they didn't have the money, for example, I'll get it, to create a new mask for their main killer in the movie. But as you mentioned, Deborah Hill there. So Carpenter co-wrote the screenplay with Deborah Hill, who was a script supervisor on Assault on Precinct 13. So the script took 3 weeks to write, and Hill contributed all the girl dialogue.
And I don't know if you watched. I think we might have watched the same making of documentary. And if you listen to Deborah Hill talk, uses the word totally a lot.
Oh, does he?
She does. So I got it. So when she started, I'm like, that's why she writes it that way, because she wrote it like how she speaks.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know how you'd feel about that piece of trivia that you wrote all the girl dialogue, because that some of that dialogue is terrible in this film.
Oh, I'm not defending again. I just understand it. I just
Yeah.
understand where it came from. I'm not saying it's good, because it's
Yeah.
it's horrible. That's fantastic. My God.
I don't bring books with me. I don't need books.
Just airheads, all three of them.
Yeah. But the movie was influenced by the films of Alfred Hitchcock, in particular Psycho, which Carpenter said was the first modern horror film, which I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, and you could see that in this, I believe. And who in horror wasn't influenced by Alfred Hitchcock? He was the master.
He was the master, 100% right, John. And you're right, and that's probably another thing that I actually feel about this movie, and you can see that influence in Halloween of a lot of the violence is suggested. There's nothing kind of too graphic or explicit, really. You see the aftermath of the murders more than the murders themselves. And there's no blood, there's no gore. But I was speaking to my mum yesterday. We were talking about these type of movies as opposed to what these movies then turned into, which turned into like gore fests and kind of sadistic killings and limbs being cut off and heads being cut off and seeing knives actually plunge into people's bodies. To me, these type of movies here, John, in the 70s, were more psychological.
Yeah, there's more thought behind that. I feel like, especially, I just watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films. They start to just make these movies about the kills and the kill sequences, and then put the plot and story in after the fact. That's not what's driving this movie. The movie itself is about Michael Myers, this evil in him, his doctor trying to rein him in as he's just going back to his hometown and killing these babysitters. There's more to this than like what the franchise, even this franchise, ends up becoming. This is the same franchise that has Trick or Treat Michael in it. So.
Yeah, they just try and up the ante as they go on and go on. But I think it was also kind of like how the audience was kind of changing as well throughout the 80s. The teenage audience, especially the young male audience who was going to watch these movies, got to the stage where they were rooting for the killer.
Yeah, you just were there for the kills. So you wanted to see how he was going to take. They build up the worst characters in the movie, like we hate them, so we don't mind them being killed.
Yeah, and speaking of his doctor, so we get to the cast here. Dr. Samuel Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis, named after Sam Loomis from Psycho, as I pointed out in Scream.
Yep, I mean, it's very good homage in my opinion, and you get old Donald Pleasance here.
Yeah, well, their first choice was Peter Cushing.
Not a bad choice. I like Peter Cushing.
One of the Hammer horror stars, and but they couldn't afford him because he'd just done Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm sure his fee went up after that one. I mean, that jawline, I could see him. I could see him doing this role pretty well.
Yeah, could you imagine the agent getting that? It was like, we wanted to be in this low budget horror movie. We're going to pay you like $10,000. And him going, I've just been in Star Wars. It's just the biggest movie of all time. What would I want to do that for?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like being on set at night with you guys. No.
Yeah. So they went for their second choice. Christopher Lee, his best mate.
Of course, the other Hammer horror legend.
Yeah, but he turned it down, and he later said that he regretted it.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So Hugh Blanc suggested Donald Pleasance. And funny, when I was watching the movie, when I was watching the acting performances in the movie, I actually thought to myself, Donald Pleasance, he brings class to this movie. And Hugh Blanc actually said himself, when he thought of Pleasance, he thought he brings a touch of class. I think he's thinking like me.
He does. I mean, he definitely, compared to these like kids on set, he's like a grown man at the time, like an older man. He's been in, he played Blofeld. Some about him and wearing beige always. He's got the beige jacket and this and the beige outfit as Blofeld. It's always what I think of with him.
Yeah, listen, he's a great actor, and he's one of those classically trained actors from Britain. As I think, I don't know if we talked about it in a pod or maybe just messaging. He's the type of guy that knocked about with your Robert Shaws and your Richard Harrises and of the
Hmm.
world, people like that. So, yeah, he's definitely he's the big name in this movie to a certain extent. One of my favorite episodes of Columbo. He plays the killer as well. He's absolutely brilliant. And as you said, in my opinion, the best Blofeld.
Yeah, oh, 100%. When I think of Blofeld, I'll always think of Donald Pleasance first, which is a shame because there's some good Blofelds, but if we're picking the best,
Yeah. You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
just that
Yeah.
hand with the cat.
But yeah.
The one-
But yeah, so they had to pay him an extra 20K, John.
yeah, and I think you know what? Well spent, because honestly, he gets the most dialogue and the best delivered dialogue by far in this
Yeah.
movie.
I do know he says that he only took the job because his daughter liked the music from Assault on Precinct 13. But John Carpenter says he thinks he was just trying to test him.
Yeah, that's what John Carpenter believes. He's like just trying to test him and like kind of work him a little bit.
Yeah, because he was like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my character's about. I only took this because of my daughter.
Like just trying to play with the young director just because he's like an older man.
He could well be. So now we move on to Laurie Strode. So Carpenter's first choice was an actress called Anna Lockhart. I'm not familiar with Anna Lockhart.
Either am mine, and the way it sounded like he really believed in her and wanted to work with her.
Yeah, he says she was like an up and coming actress of the time, but she turned it down, and it was Hill that suggested Jamie Lee Curtis, who was a contract player at Universal.
Daughter of what's his name?
Tony
Tony
Curtis.
Curtis? Tony
Tony
Curtis.
Curtis.
And I know your girl, Janet Lee.
Janet Lee, and they loved that Sego connection. They thought they could. I think it was you, Blonde says. I knew if we got her, we could sell it from that kind of angle that she's the daughter of this famous Hollywood couple, and as her mother was in Sego. But then he went, but it turned out she was really good.
Yeah, of course. Like it worked out that she actually was a good actress, which we've never talked about Jamie Lee Curtis on our show before. Jamie Lee Curtis, pretty good actress. I would never actually say that she's in the upper echelon, even though she's an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, she's not bad. I mean, I've seen her. I watched her in True Lies years ago. I wasn't a fan of that movie. I've seen Trading Places, which I wasn't a big fan of that either. She's in A Fish Called Wanda. I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So she's okay. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it because she's in it. I do like her. I do like her in this as this character of Laurie Strode. She's integral to the movie, and I like how she does play the damsel in distress, but she's terrified all the way through. Her reactions are out of total fear, not bravado of I'm gonna stop this bad guy, and I think that's very realistic. I didn't like her characterization in Halloween 2018. I think the best characterization she ever done of Laurie since the original is H2O.
I knew you were gonna say that. I actually do like how they built her up, and I like that. I like how that trilogy started with 2018 and Kills. They absolutely destroyed it when Halloween Ends, but I did kind of like how she kind of came back like that, and this traumatized her. If you just take it from how this movie ended, because at this point she is just it's very much like the Terminator. Like, she's just a she's just a regular girl. She's a babysitter. She's nothing more than that, who gets thrown into this unsurvivable situation. Of course she's going to be fumbling around like a fool because she's a kid. So, but this fucked up her mind, and I can see that happening.
But isn't she like the most unlikely? Like Brody and Jaws, she's the most unlikely to survive this. When you think about it, the goody two shoes who just into her books and babysitting and looking after kids and doing, as she say, Girl Scout stuff.
The virgin,
she's the virgin, but she's the one that turns out who survives.
Michael. Yeah, that's all she did was survive.
Friends, the bad girls, or maybe a bit more tougher exterior, they're the ones that die. So, the only thing is, look, I say we could talk about 2018 sometime or the sequels sometime. The only
That's
thing is
a good live show for us one day, maybe next year.
2018.
We can talk about that whole trilogy because we can talk about how, because the whole thing it needs to be talked about, because I'm telling you, it was, for me, it was going up, and it's like a plane crash. It nosed so hard.
Yeah, look, I seen 2018 in the cinema. I was excited about it. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I think about 2/3 of it's really good. I hate the final act, but the thing about her character was that they tried to turn her into a Sarah Connor type
Oh,
character.
100%.
But I just thought was of how the hell could you carry this burden for 40 years? I understand it's a traumatizing event, but there's people that went through traumatizing events and don't let it affect them like she let it affect her life. But I understand that's supposed to be the character, but I can understand Sarah Connor's trauma from Terminator 1 to Terminator 2 because she had an impending kind of like apocalypse coming, and her son was the one that was going to save the world, and she was fighting these forces that kept telling her she was wrong or she was crazy, and she was trying. Whereas Laurie Strode had 40 years to raise a family and was worried about this one man that was locked up in a mental asylum. It just was a bit. And the more I watch it, the more I think she's nuts.
Fair enough.
But I could spend a lot more time just on that. But I still like the 2018 one. But it's really flawed.
I mean, listen, they are all flawed, I think, for the most part. I don't think there's a perfect, maybe like I said, Halloween 3 is my favorite. It's got a flaw. There's flaws in that. I don't think any of these are 5-star films, in my opinion.
No, definitely not. But do you know what I think would have been better for a Halloween sequel 40 years down the line?
What?
If she was like Loomis instead.
And she can do that, Jamie Lee Curtis. That like frantic, scared, but trying to warn people and no one's listening, which she actually kind of is doing.
Well, not I don't mean that. But what I mean is she was a doctor.
Oh, she became a doctor. That would be interesting.
She was a doctor in a mental asylum, not specifically working with. Maybe that's not PC to say mental asylum anymore, is it? But
what else do you call them?
Hospitals.
I don't know. I still would say maybe I'd say mental institution, but I don't know. I still think we're on this fair ground.
Yeah, people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But still want to get cancelled. But what I'm saying is that what if she was a doctor working in a hospital, psychiatric hospital, right? And Michael escapes. So she takes it upon herself. It's like he needs to be stopped. He attacked me and my friends 40 years ago. I know what he's capable of, and they all think he's just a normal man, like Loomis did. And Loomis is, or sorry, like everybody, like Loomis was fighting against the people saying, "Oh, he's just escape. Why can't we stop him?" And he's like, "No, he's not. He's evil. We gotta stop him." What about that? Would have been better if it had been she had been a doctor and she had been working, maybe not even in the same hospital. He escapes, and then she takes up the Loomis road. And I know she kind of does do it a wee bit in the movie, but I just felt it would have been better character arc for that way, rather than starting the movie like she's crazy and she's like, "Oh, the Michael's gonna escape," and then he does.
He does. Proves her right.
I always thought the good twist in the movie was that it was her that crashed into the truck that got them all to escape.
That would be a great twist. That would be actually a really good twist, better than the one they actually have.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen when I was watching it, and I thought then it would be all her fault, and I thought that would be better because remember she was sitting watching in the car, and then all of a sudden it just turned out the driver just crashed. I thought it would have been better if she thought I'm going to try and kill him and rammed into the thing, and that's how he get out. So it was all her fault in the end. If she had just left things, it would have been all right.
I like that.
Yeah, but I'll get back to the original, John.
Let's go.
So, Linda van der Glock, played by PG Souls. Now, she auditioned, but Carpenter said he had written the part with her in mind after seeing her in Carrie.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally forgot she was in Carrie until I was doing this research.
So did I, 100%.
I love her. I think she's brilliant. And they also wanted her then husband, Dennis Quaid, to play Linda's boyfriend, Bob, but he was unavailable.
He was doing some TV movie too, which is funny. It would have been cool to get him in this movie. That would have actually, I think, been better than the actor of Bob in this one.
Yeah, because I looked him up and he's played by a guy called John Michael Graham, and I've never heard of him. He doesn't even have a wiki page.
It's probably like a lot of these actors are just small time actors. Even I'm sure you're getting to. I will talk to her about her in a second.
Yes, well, Annie Brackett, played by Nancy Loomis, was cast as she is the real life wife of production designer Tommy Lee Wallace.
Halloween 3 director Tommy Lee Wallace. Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, well, that's how she gets the job, and it shows.
Yeah, it definitely shows, and she's in Halloween. She's the only character to appear. Well, not character, the only actor to appear in Halloween 1, 2, and 3.
Oh yes, she plays Finn's wife,
Yeah, she plays
Dr.
Tom Atkins'
Chalice's
divorce.
wife.
Yeah, he played because
Yeah,
she's older. She's actually, she's an older. She's playing a high schooler in this. She's dressing down. They dress her up a little bit for Halloween 3. She plays the naggy wife.
yeah, and she's in The Fog as well, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah. And then that was it. After Halloween 3, she doesn't appear in anything until 2024.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's really cute looking, like, but she's just a bad actress.
Horrible actress. There's a reason why she probably. And I guess maybe someone pulled her aside and said, "Listen, if your husband wasn't involved in these, you wouldn't be in anything." Much like Sherry Moon Zombie. No offense
Well,
to the Rob
yeah.
Zombie fans.
Well, I can understand. Well, I can, and I can to a certain extent understand why she's in Halloween, because it's like, as we were talking about earlier, it's a small budget movie of friends making a movie together,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of them didn't get paid. She probably just thought, this is fun. I'm getting fed. I don't need. Maybe I don't know if she got paid or not. Maybe she was just like, I won't take it. I don't mean I'm not getting paid, but I'm doing this with my husband. He's a production designer. He's getting paid, and I'm in a movie.
Yeah.
And probably had no aspirations for it, but just be like, yeah, we're making a movie. Let's hope it just, makes a wee bit of money. Maybe it gets me recognized somewhere, and that's it.
Hmm. I mean, listen, that's literally kind of almost how Nick Castle ended up in this movie.
Well, but Nick Castle, just one off here, just one lane here, one note. Sheriff Lee Brackett, played by Charles Savers.
Yeah, you ruined him for me. We'll get to it into the scene that actually did it, but I had no problem with this guy until you brought up his acting.
Well, he's also he's in The Fog as well. I think he plays the a guy who's chatting up the woman that runs the radio station. He's chatting her up on the phone.
Yeah, he does something with weather, I think.
Yeah, he's warning her about the weather. Yeah, that's right. So yes, speaking of Michael Myers, aka the Shape, he was named after the distributor of Assault on Precinct 13 in England. And he's played by John Carpenter's friend, Nick Castle.
Yeah, which is in my research, apparently he just was coming around to see what John Carpenter was doing, because they were filming right by his house, and he came over and they said, well, as long as you're going to be here, might as well like do something. And they just put him in the suit and gave him some direction, and I think $25 a day or something like that, or a week.
That's right, $25 a day, I think it was. And it was like and he was like, what do you do? And John Carpenter's like, just walk from there to there. That's it. And he's like, that's it? He's like, yep, just want you to walk from there to there. Just walk normally. Just walk casually. But I think his father was like a dancer or something. So he was able to kind of do those kind of moves with the head moves and stuff. When he sits up and things like that. And those type of things. And yeah, it's really funny how he moves in the movie, John, because it's not super quick, but it's not super slow. There's an urgency there, but it's a kind of patient urgency.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it works for this movie. It works very simple, and I like that that's all the direction they gave him, except in one scene they explained. But I like that was really it. And I also like just finding out, like when I was looking up behind the scenes, that he was just like a father. He had like 2 kids and everything. They would just come to the set, and it's like, and then he just goes on there and plays one of the most iconic horror villains of all time. Given, other than Freddy Krueger, played by like Robert Englund, it's like most of these guys are just like played by stuntmen.
Yeah, that's right. And as we said in Scream, they even got a stuntman for the killer in Scream. That didn't even get the actors to do it.
So I guess they learn motion. Like, I guess that's like kind of like that's what they're looking for more in this. Is like, I guess they feel like the regular actors, it's more about like the performance of like the emotions of the character. Now they're actually looking for the physical motion, so it works better in that aspect.
Yeah, and I also think as well, when you're playing like a scary character like this, who people are fighting against, there's stunts that they have to do probably. And it's like they can get stunt people in for the actors for those particular scenes, but they need actors to act out the scenes. Whereas, like when you're playing a monster with a mask on who does no dialogue, you don't need an actor. You need a stunt performer.
Yep, and they got a good one.
They did, and the funny thing is that what was I going to say? So I was going to say something else about Nick Castle. Yes, Nick Castle. He went on to direct a few movies, and I know he directed The Last Starfighter.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he wanted to be a director. He directed a few things. I mean, that's probably the most famous thing.
Yeah, because I only watched that recently and was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, it's the guy who plays Michael Myers directed this.
I guess they probably met in film school or something. Because like, how did they know each other that he wanted to go watch him make this movie?
Mm. And I think that's how he cast Lance Guest for The Last Starfighter, because he seen him in Halloween 2.
Oh, well, that makes sense. That's again, it's the whole family. The whole family. They all just stay
Mhm.
together for this early part of the late 70s, early 80s.
Hmm. But Carpenter had said that the character should have a mythical status, make him human, but a force that would never stop. Jaws on land. Influenced by the robot in Westworld, just like
Mm-hmm.
the Terminator. And the young 12 or 13-year-old mental patient Carpenter had seen in a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
He says it was his college or something brought them to this institution, toured the place, and he seen this young boy just sitting staring at a wall. And he looked in his eyes, and he says it was like a schizophrenic look. He says there was nothing there; it was just blank. He says it was pretty creepy.
Yeah, those dark eyes, doll's eyes.
Like a shark's eyes. Yeah, yeah. I think Loomis stole that. Anyway, we'll get to that. So they didn't have the money to make a mask for Mars, so Tommy Lee Wallace bought a clown mask and a William Shatner Captain Kirk Star Trek mask. This is famous. A lot of people know this anyway, which had a blank face and looked nothing like William Shatner. But he cut the eye holes bigger, ripped off the eyebrows, the sideburns, puffed the hair, and spray painted it whiter than what it already was. And that's how they created the Michael Myers mask. So they didn't go with the clown mask. They done that and went, that's it. That's the mask.
Still the best mask in the entire franchise, and it's amazing how they can never get it right again.
Yeah, I really like how it looks in 2 as well.
I like how
Because
it looks in two. Like, there's other versions I like, but I just think it's so good in the first.
yeah. Well, do you know the one in 2 is the same mask?
Really?
Yeah, it's the same mask, but what it was that Deborah Hill brought it home and she put it in a box under her bed. Apparently, she was a heavy smoker, and you always think in the 70s, people just smoked in the house, in the bedroom, whatever. And this is when they went to make the second one, she brought the mask in, and because I've been lying in a box for a few years, just with the living conditions, it was kind of yellowed and kind of a wee bit distorted and stuff. But the difference they said was between Castle and a guy called Dick Warlock, who played the shape in the second movie, was that Castle had a longer face, whereas Dick Warlock had a wider face. So when he put the mask on in the first movie, it was more stretched that way, angular way, but it was more wider in the second movie. So made it look a wee bit more distorted. And I agree with you. How the mask looks in the first movie is generally the best, but I like that kind of creepy, distorted look it has in the second.
Yeah. It's tough to like watch them back to back because it's like certain little aspects change from film to film, and that's one of them that's very noticeable.
Yeah, they almost look like two separate entities. They're not really side by side. They don't look like the same character, really, because there is differences even down to the boiler suit
Yeah.
that he's wearing. The second movie it's green. The first movie but there's still a debate to this day what color it was. They think it was like a dark gray, but because of the lighting, it made it look blue.
I always thought blue.
Yeah, but it's because if you look at the day shots, John, it's grey, but in the night shot it looks blue, and they think it's just because it was the same suit, but it was the way it was lit at night made it look blue. But if you look in the day shots, it's like a dark grey. But in the second movie, it's actually green.
Yeah, they didn't even like. We're not even gonna have the debate with blue and gray anymore. We'll just go green.
In between.
Yeah, everyone else, we'll make everyone unhappy.
Yeah, it was pink. It was actually pink. It must be colorblind. Yeah. But yeah, so it was filmed in May of 1978 in Southern California in a street off Sunset Boulevard. You touched on this, John. The Myers house was in South Pasadena, and the crew used fans to blow dead leaves around to make it appear like autumn, fall. And it was I think I said it was a 40-day shoot. I get mixed up. It was a 20-day shoot. It was a 4-week shoot to set, but 20 days. I don't know. Doesn't work out. That's not 4 days. That's not 4 weeks. Maybe it's working weeks.
Yeah, well, that's probably what it is. 4 or 5 day weeks. They got the weekends off.
The weekends off, mate. Yep. But as you said, this is supposed to be set in Haddonfield, Illinois, or is that a real place?
No, it's based off of Haddonfield, New Jersey, where Deborah Hill's actually from.
Right, but she wanted to set it in Illinois.
So she just used her
Right.
regular hometown, like a lot of the characters. They just took names from people they know and everything. They did the same thing with the town. It's just a made up Illinois town.
Yeah, I always thought it was made up, like Woodsboro and places like that. But it was the way she said when the making of I watched. She said that right enough. I forgot that she said it Haddonfield, New Jersey, but it was Haddonfield, Illinois. So I wasn't sure if there was two, maybe in two different places.
Well, here in America, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have a state named Kansas. Like one of the 50 states is Kansas.
Yeah,
So there's a city called Kansas City. You would
yeah,
assume in the state of Kansas. There is a Kansas City in Kansas. There's also fucking Kansas City, Missouri. And a lot of the times that's where the sports teams are from. It's from Kansas City, Missouri. It still confuses the hell out of me, and I'm from here.
yeah. Is there something about the capital as well, Washington D.C.,
Yeah,
District of Columbia, but it's not in?
it's not
Is
in
it?
any state. It's not. It's in
It's its own.
between. Yeah, it's its
Yeah,
own entity. It's the District of Columbia. It's between Maryland and Virginia. So,
yeah,
but it's not actually a part of them. And then on top of that, we have the state of Washington.
yeah. Okay.
Stupid
I
people.
well, I won't go into the politics of the names of towns over here because so
Just the people who name these things. You know what? I'm sure it's a worldwide problem.
yeah, yeah. Because we have obviously just thinking there about horror and it was a TV show out and it's set in the town of Derry and obviously we have a city over here called Derry as well. But yes, just a quick note here. Before we finish up production, John, just had to point this out. Cinematography by Dean Cundy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Absolutely brilliant. Who would go on to do movies like Jurassic Park, Psycho 2.
Humble beginnings, this man.
Didn't he do Poltergeist?
He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so he went on to work with Spielberg. And the music was composed by John Carpenter. And he said the movie didn't work without the music.
I believe that.
So finally, distributor Joe Wolf invited all the major studios to a screening for possible distribution. Warner Brothers, Columbia, Paramount, but they all didn't show. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier about these studios. They weren't interested. But then once it was a big hit, I believe the second movie was distributed by Universal.
Well, it's funny how you said Paramount. Paramount went over and when saw Halloween, they could have had Halloween. That's how stupid they are. And then they wouldn't have made Friday the 13th. They make us our own Halloween.
Yeah. So it's like Spielberg at E.T. He offered E.T. to Disney. They didn't want him. I think I don't know why he didn't want to do it at Universal. I can't remember why. But then in the end, I think Universal wanted to do it, and for some reason he said no, I'll take it somewhere else. And then when he was turned down everywhere else, Universal said, "Well, you still want to do it here?" And he was like, "Yeah." And
he's comfortable with Universal.
Yeah, I don't know why. I can't remember why he didn't want to do it at Universal. I think it was because it was such a small project, and he'd already made movies with Universal, and they had backed him before. I think maybe he thought maybe it wasn't going to be a success or something. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Jog my memory. So Yablans decided they would distribute the film themselves, and MGM produced 400 prints for them because your man Wolf says he didn't say what it was. He says he had done a favor for MGM at some period, and when he went back and asked them to produce the prints, they done 400 for him. He's like, okay.
I feel like a lot of people are just doing favors to get this movie out there, and that's perfect. Good low budget filmmaking.
But did you not see that when they showed it at one of John Carpenter's university? Did you hear that story?
No.
But the students were horrified by the movie. Some of them walked out.
Well, that's the demographic that they're targeting this film at, so that's probably a good sign then, right?
Well, the thing was that some of the filmmakers were there, and after the movie, one of the students stood up and said to them, "Why would you make such a horrible movie like this?" And they said that they thought that they wanted to bring back a horror movie that had been made in a way while pushing the form forward. And Deborah Hill said, I also think that, it could become a classic. We wanted to make something that maybe could become a classic one day. And the student called them out and says, "You really think it's going to be a classic one day? You're totally deluded," and walked out.
Wow. I wonder how that guy's doing. I imagine not very successful.
Yeah, I said I thought the same. I thought, wonder where he is now.
Yeah, I wonder how he is. Well, his claim to fame. I said that I saw Halloween in an early screening and said I was gonna suck.
Yeah, his name was Wes Craven.
Yeah.
His name was Wes Carpenter.
Wes Carpenter, that old douche.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like I thought the people would have loved it was the students. That sounds more like an older kind of
Yeah.
lecturer saying like, why would you like maybe their old, you know, drama teacher saying why how could you make such a disgusting movie?
Yeah, I would think they would be perfect for this. I mean, maybe it was just this particular group. That's who knows.
Yeah, but as I say, it was distributed by Compass International Pictures, and it was released on the 25th of October, 1978, and the runtime is 92 minutes.
Quick 90-minute film, in and out.
In and out, John. That's it. So we can
Ready?
get into the movie now after an hour of talking about the
pre-production, right?
Jesus. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So now we have the opening titles with that amazing John Carpenter score starting.
Iconic. I love the
iconic.
opening credits. It's amazing what you can do sometimes. Terminator does the same thing with just running the credits with a great piece of music. And, you get the pumpkin to the left, I guess, too, the jack-o'-lantern. But still, it's very simple, but still very effective. Yeah, right there to your left.
Yeah. Right to my left. Yeah. And, I always feel as if, and you see this through a lot of films, popular films throughout the 70s and 80s, and I always feel as if the opening title should set the tone to what you're about to see.
I agree. Exactly. And and when a movie like this that is very atmospheric and relying on tone, perfect way to start it.
Yeah. You see it with like Jaws, you see it with like The Terminator, as you say. Those opening titles with the music, the theme playing, sets the tone for what's to come. And yeah, as you say, you just that pumpkin slowly coming closer and closer to the screen as the credits roll. I love how it just kind of zooms into the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And we then, and obviously the credits are coming up here, and you see things like, Donald Pleasance in John Carpenter's Halloween, a Deborah Hill production. So they're all getting their names there. And then it says introducing Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie.
Yeah, I know. And all this stuff now, all these years later, like seeing all those names and introducing Jamie Lee Curtis makes me feel kind of old.
I'd say the music's just getting more and more intense. Then we cut to Haddonfield, Illinois, Halloween night, 1963. And you hear this like Halloween rain being kind of signed by children, which is always creepy when you hear children singing things.
I know. Nightmare on Elm Street really made this famous, the nursery rhyme.
Yeah, and that's one of the creepiest parts of Nightmare on Elm Street is at the end when they're singing it.
I mean, just anything about like kids being scary is just petrifying because they're supposed to be so innocent, and when they're not, it's petrifying.
Yeah, I remember somebody asking that one time, why is horror movies with children in it so scary? And I was my answer was it's because children are supposed to be innocent, and especially young girls.
Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be the most innocent creatures on the world. That's why when violence is done to them, it's always the worst.
It's always the most horrifying. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and when you see that in Elm Street with the girls with the skip ropes, see it in Poltergeist with Carol Ann, she's being tortured. Not even even though it's torturing the brother, you feel more kind of fearful for her.
Mm-hmm. You do, and I mean, so do the family. They just shipped the brother off.
Yeah, well, I just watched Poltergeist 3, and none of the families there at all.
No, they don't even care anymore. They're like, Jesus Christ, she's dragging something here. Just leave her with the aunt and uncle.
Yeah. And the uncle walked in. My daughter went, who's that? And I went, who? The guy with the moustache. And I was just like, no, she says, why has the daddy got a moustache? I says, that is the uncle.
That's not Crazy Nelson.
She was like, what? She was like, what? Where's the mom and dad? I was just like, no, they're not in this one. And I was like, why were you screaming for? And she went, that moustache.
You can never have a mustache then.
I'm threatening her. I'm going to grow one. So, yeah.
You'll really look like you do porn then.
Yeah, I says, I'll do one for Movember.
Good idea.
So, yeah, we see a first-hand point of view of the house. And again, I have to just bring this up, John. because I feel as if my movie was very influential too. This is just like the shark from Jaws, the POV coming towards the house.
Hmm.
John Carpenter, I mean, or somebody said in the making of I watched that, oh, we'd never really seen that point of view of the killer before. Well, maybe in a human.
Yeah, I don't think they were thinking about the shark and Jaws in this instance, in this exact moment.
I think they were.
I think they
Um,
fair enough.
they're just pretending. Just pretending they weren't. So anyway, it approaches the house and we see a girl and boy through the window of a door. And you hear her saying, my parents will be home until 10. And then you see this person looking through the window and the boy's like, we're alone, aren't we? And the girl says, Michael's around someplace. I also think as well that maybe this is an American thing, John. We would say like they're around somewhere. And I don't know if that's maybe just a different in lingo, but when I hear them use someplace, I always think that's a reference to Sego. Because
Ah,
it's like when she says about the Norman, about your mother, can't you put her someplace? And he says someplace. People always say someplace. And I just in my mind, with my critical eye on, trying to analyze this movie, I'm like, is that deliberate? Because Michael should be someplace.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's. I never thought of it as like an American thing or not. I personally say somewhere or someplace. I go both ways.
Yeah, so look, I could be maybe looking into that completely wrong, but it's mentioned again later, someplace, and then I went, there it is again. So I'm
It,
like, I don't know if it's just a lingo thing.
it could be just the way they talked, like that. Maybe them, and it's also a good amount of time ago. I never really thought about that, honestly.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong with that. But the boy I like how the boy lifts a clown mask and he puts it on. And she tells him to take it off. And then he says, let's go upstairs. And she's just like, okay.
Yeah, she's willing just to go right up there, and they're just rushing through this entire thing, like to have him because they're using the steady cam here, and
That's
like
right.
they had only a certain amount of film, so like that's why they have to like kind of rush through things. But when you watch the movie as somebody who's watching it, it's like this all goes so fast.
It does, and they used the Steadicam, and the whole idea was that they were going to do this all in one shot. And listen,
Mhm.
I commend them for being such a low budget movie and doing that whole opening scene in one shot. It's brilliant. Although they did have to do it in three cuts
Mhm.
because they did run out of film, so there's three cuts within that. So whoever's watching Halloween, if try and spot it if anybody's watching Halloween today or tonight.
It's funny they brought it up in that making of, and I was like, I always kind of knew where the cuts were because of movies like Rope have done, like tried to do the whole movie in
Yes.
one shot, make it look like one shot. Anytime when there's just one still image of something, that's usually where the cut is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so quick, but and it's so clever too. Don't get me wrong,
Like putting the mask
and it's
on is a very clever cut.
and it's so quick that sometimes, like if you're not paying full attention, that you may not notice that. But I always find as well for the casual viewer, John, a lot of people don't realize that certain scenes are done on one take or one shot. Do you ever notice that until you point it out to them?
Oh no, I mean the casual viewers do not notice the editing, and it's crazy. And I mean, I always back in the day, I always heard that's when you have a good editor is somebody who knows how to like make it look like and for somebody not to notice the editing. I think
Mhm.
as film fans, we're just always trained to notice the editing, and editing can be an art form of itself. So I
Oh
get
yeah.
impressed by it.
Oh yeah, and that goes back to what I said earlier about Psycho, about how Hitchcock changed the form because of montage and the editing that he done on Psycho just totally changed the game, totally changed film, not just horror movies.
I was somebody who never appreciated editing until actually I appreciated it, but like never truly appreciated it until I started doing YouTube and like editing myself. And I'm like, Jesus, I mean, these people need a raise, and they never get any love from
Yeah,
people. It's like people could probably tell you two editors, and that's like it.
yeah. I love it. Like it's tedious. It's a
Hmm.
tedious job, but I love it. And the only reason is that I say I love it is because I had a game. When I was looking at this recently, I had a game years ago. It's called Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair. Did you ever hear of it?
No,
Well, it was like a PC game, came out like in the late 90s, and it starred Quentin Tarantino and Jennifer Aniston.
really.
And there was who else was in it? There was a few other famous actors in it. So basically, Quentin Tarantino's been blamed on murdering someone, and he's going to death row. And that's the story. And there was now listen, I can't really remember much about it, but basically, you could take parts of the movie and you could edit it the way you wanted to edit it and add music.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good, and I remember doing that. And you could do it funny, or you could do it serious, or you could do, you know what I mean? There was like all this comedic stuff happening, and it was all in the way you edited it. And I really enjoyed doing that. I think it can be enjoyable, but it can be tedious. I
Yeah.
love how you can change the scene just by editing. I don't know if I've told you this, or I might have talked about it in one of our previous podcasts about Alfred Hitchcock talking about editing. He says, you see this old man walking down the street. He says, you see a woman walking down the street. He says, with a mini, I'm paraphrasing here. He says, like with a mini skirt on or showing a bit of cleavage. He stops, he looks, and he smiles, right? He's a dirty old man. That's what
Yep.
you think. He says, switch out the woman with a woman pushing a pram with a baby in it. The same shots with the man, the exact same shots. You're changing out the woman from the woman in the skirt to the woman in the pram. Now he's a charming gentleman smiling at a baby.
But you never changed out the man or any of those shots. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
you keep it. So that's the magic of editing.
I mean, even cutting lines of dialogue out, or just like you could just completely change how something is perceived just by cutting out, like maybe just like I even was watching like with the making of Halloween, like how they could just cut out little things, like it just can make it be completely different. It's the power of the editor.
Yeah, so I think it would be an interesting job. I think it would be. I think it's fascinating. I love how Hitchcock planned every scene before he started filming. He hated the filming process, but he loved the pre-production. He loved the editing process, and the fact that he only filmed what he needed, so he had control of the editing, so nobody could mess with it. I love all that. So yeah, it's tedious, but I think make it putting something together. You know, I see what Hitchcock's saying when you're just spending every day filming a few minutes here, a few minutes there, all out of sequence. Then you bring it all into somewhere and you start assembling it and you see it come together. And as you said, then you put in, for example, the sound effects and the music and the color timing, and then that's it. It's a work of art. It's art. You're creating something.
It really is, and that's why it's always impressive when people can have it like in their head, like Spielberg and Martin Scorsese have like exactly like where the edits are going to be ahead of time, like in their own mind they can see the edits. Like that's incredible.
But I believe you have to have a vision. I believe you have to know
The
in your
whole
head what
thing,
you're
yeah.
doing. And that's what they said about Carpenter in this movie. When he came in to direct it, though, he was 29 years of age. They said that he basically knew what he wanted. And they say the same about James Cameron. He knows what he wants. Yeah, I think you have to know. You have to be decisive. I don't think just being a student of film, you can't go onto a film set and not know what you're doing and not know what shot you want and not know, you know what I mean? Because that's just a recipe for chaos.
No, I think the director needs to, like, I think you've said it in one of our previous pods. They need to know every job, and that's what makes James Cameron so good. Is like he did every job, so he knew exactly what he wanted from everybody on the set and making the movie. So of course he would know how his film is. He wants to know. He knows what it's going to look like already, and he just has to make sure he executes that.
Yeah. Well, always remember Joe Alves saying to Steven Spielberg on the Sugarland Express, Spielberg was trying to do too much because he thought he did have to do it all. Because he was young and he was worrying about this and that and the other. And Joe Alves had to say to him, Steven, we're here for you. You don't have to do it all. That's why you hire a production designer. That's why you hire this, and that's why you hire that, and that's why you hire the other. You tell us, what do you need, and we'll go and get it for you. And if we can't do it, then you get somebody who can.
Exactly. It's you got to trust.
He's there to work with the actors and direct the action. The production designers there to do the production design. The set decorators are to dress the set. Then you've got your stunt coordinators. They're there to do the stunts. You know what I mean? And so
the director's the boss. Like he's supposed to like tell everyone else like what his vision is, and they're supposed to achieve that vision for you. And you got to learn to trust the people you work with. And it's not really a one-person gig; it's a team.
Yeah, something which I didn't touch on the Scream podcast, which I started reading a book about the making of Scream, and they actually went more in depth in this, was the fact that the original DP and the camera crew get fired off Scream because the shots weren't in focus.
I mean, that's like the part of your job. That's a big part of your job as a DP.
Yeah, so basically, Wes Craven hired Demons and trusted Demons to get the shots that he asked for. And this is in a time before digital, where you were looking at dailies, maybe that night or the next day. So once you filmed it, you had to make sure it was what you asked for. They were saying that stuff was out of focus, and then they were saying, "What the hell is going on here? You're supposed to be professionals." So that's not really for Wes Craven to worry about on the day or after. that should be the way he asked it for. Shouldn't have to um, get a new team in. And that's what he did. Although they said there was politics at play there, they said that apparently he was behind on a schedule and he needed to get out and he needed more money. And they used them as a scapegoat to get more money and more time to finish the film. But in saying that, that's the trust you have to put on the people that you're working with. As I said, so it's a collaborative effort.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So I say we see a hand lift the knife out of the kitchen drawer. Now it's Deborah Hill's hand lifting the knife. And the boy leaves. He says he's got to go. It's really late. She says, you call me tomorrow? And he says, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he ain't calling.
No, he ain't calling. And then it's like, promise? And he's like, yeah.
Eh.
I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, you gave what he wanted already. He's done.
Yep, he's gone. And so he leaves, and this mystery stalker makes their way up the stairs, lifts the clown mask, and then we see a girl topless, combing her hair. He watches her, and then she turns, Michael, and then he starts to stab her, and just screams. We see that the knife is like the psycho stabbing shot that we see coming down in the frame there through the mask, and she falls down bleeding, and the killer makes his way out the front door as a car pulls up. Man, woman get out, and we hear them say, Michael.
And their reaction to this is very a little too calm for my liking. The mother's got her hands in her pocket.
Yeah, he's just kind of standing like that with a mask, and then she's got her hand there. She puts her hand in her pocket, and the camera I do love the shot how it just pans back, pulls out, and just shows the house and they're standing there. Now, somebody had said that this is supposed to be, is it a tableau or something? Is that what it's called?
It's the same shot they do at the end of Scream, actually. I think very similar to that, where they pull back on the house.
But a shot, it's supposed to be like a theater shot where like before the lights go down, it freezes.
Ah, I could see what they're. Okay, I don't know what the name of that exactly is, but I could see what you're saying.
Somebody said I maybe get around tableau or something like that. But the thing is that she moves. She puts her hand in her pocket.
Yeah, it's so distracting. It's noticeable too.
So the dad kind of moves his head as well. So, like Carpenter had mentioned the making of that shot for such a low budget movie was an unbelievable shot for them to get with the crane and all. So it could be a case of, listen, we've got one chance to do this shot, and they've pulled back, and then she's moving, he's moving. They went, just put it in the movie.
John Carpenter seems like the kind of guy too. Like when he's just kind of like, fuck it, whatever. He's not like Stanley Kubrick or anything, or I'm gonna do this 46 times. Even like if he had money, a little bit like Clint Eastwood, like it's like whatever, we got it, we got enough.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something he done that in another shot in the movie. I can't think of what it was, where he was like, we were supposed to do this and it didn't work, and then he went, fuck, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's not a perfectionist. Like he's just not one of those guys.
No, especially in a movie like this, you got to work fast. So it is. But this is the, as I say, I put a note here. This is the horror of what is. Now the horror of what has just occurred. The mask is removed to reveal a young boy in a clown costume holding the knife. The parents stand frozen and bemused as the camera pans out. It's a masterful and great opening scene.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great opening, one of the most iconic openings, because you're just like, right. It is very, for this kind of movie to have a one-shotter like that in a low-budget horror film, and it's petrifying that it's a kid that does it. And I love that it transitions to another great scene, really setting the tone for this movie.
Absolutely brilliant, John. It cuts to black, and then we see Smith Grove, Illinois, October 30th, 1978. We hear thunder, heavy rain. And I've written here, this is classic horror territory. It almost feels like before we even get to the main story, there's like two mini stories at the start, but it's setting everything up.
You're into this with the great opening credits, that great opening shot, the great opening scene, and now you're into this scene right here with the thunder and lightning, the rain. I mean, the windshield wipers going the entire time. These two characters in the car driving along. Like, I mean, the movie, this is iconic stuff. Like, as we're just going up right now.
Yeah, this is great. And every time I put Halloween on, well, not every time, but more recent years where I'm more familiar with it. But I always forget that it opens with these two scenes for some reason.
Like back to back, because usually you have
Yeah,
one scene before you get into like what the usual films do, which is what this film will do in a second. Which kind of like, all right, we're going up. All right, let's just kind of even things out, kind of like lower, have the day scenes with the characters, build up these
yeah,
teenagers. No, they have two scenes of actually like escalating action.
yeah. Or even do like a flashback scene of the sister murder that you know nothing about it till later on. Something like that they would do. But no, I love it. I love how this sets the scene here. And the car comes driving around the corner, and in the heavy rain, thunder, lightning, and we see Donald Pleasance in the passenger seat, and a nurse is driving. Now, when I was doing my research, somebody who's not a massive Halloween fan, so I found out her name is Marion Chambers, and I found that amusing because Janet Leigh's character in Psycho is called Marion Crane,
Mm-hmm.
and the sheriff in Psycho is called Chambers.
Huh. Interesting.
So I think that they've put them two names together there to give this nurse the name Marion Chambers.
Makes sense, especially with all the other character names.
Yes, exactly. And so I love how I'd say it's pitch black, no street lights, no other cars, just two people in the car on a lonely highway, and the sound of a storm outside, John, where you can't see anything.
Mm-hmm. It's great. You're trapped in here with them, and they both don't want to be there too.
Yeah. He asks her, has she done anything like this before? And she says, only minimum security. And he says, I see. Loomis says he hasn't spoken a word in 15 years. Try to understand what we're dealing with here. Don't underestimate it. And she says, couldn't we refer to it as him? And then she says, what did I give him when we take him in front of the judge? And he says, Thorazine. And the nurse says, you never want him to get out? And he's like, never.
He's so direct and so emotionless.
Yeah. She makes a comment about his compassion.
Yeah, he has no more of compassion for me. He's like laid it out many times. He's like, he tried. He's like, at this point, he just knows he's pure evil. There is no compassion for him. He's not human to him.
Yeah.
He's the only reason they're doing this. He even says it. He's like, well, why are we doing this? Because it is the law.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because he if you don't want him out, why don't we just bring him straight up to the hospital? And he's like, because it is the law. So what I determined from this is Loomis has been tasked with taking Michael in front of the judge to make sure he stays locked up. But when they get to the gate, we see patients wandering in their white gowns. And the nurse says, since when did they let them wander around? And Loomis gets out and goes to the gate. Is it to make a call? You see him go on is that phoning into the hospital?
Yeah, well, I think the gate's not supposed to be open. They're not supposed to be out right now. So, like, he's supposed to phone up to the gate to be like, let them in. But the gate's already open. They're all roaming around, which is scary, by the way. You don't really get a clear look at them. You just see their white gowns, really.
Yeah, and I love how it's shot that you don't need any of that. You don't need any of that detail. I guess that a lot of this is done because of budgetary reasons, but it works for the movie.
Yeah, the only real light source is the headlights, like that through the rain. So you don't need a clear shot of them, and it works in. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to put like really like big time actors out there. Just a couple guys in some white suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So someone jumps onto the back of the car and onto the roof and attacks the nurse. She drives, stops, and then he smashes the window. She opens the door and gets out and runs. The man steals the car. Loomis runs over to her. Are you all right? He's gone from here. The evil is gone. And the car speeds off, and Loomis runs. I gotta.
He's only worried about the nurse for about 3 seconds before he's like full panic that the evil's gone. He's gone from here.
Yeah, the evil is gone. I mean, I was like, when I was watching this again the other night, I forgot that he asked her, "Are you okay?" I actually thought he just came running over, going, "It's gone!" And I was like, "Oh fuck, he does care about her just as you say for a split second."
Yeah, he checks on her for not that she just got thrown out of a car or anything. No, like I'm like, all right, at least he asked her if she was all right.
Yeah, at least he did. At least he asked her that. But no, listen, I love Pleasance for me makes this movie. He's absolutely brilliant, but he's on edge. He is fucking on edge this whole movie.
I love it. I love his performance in it. But yeah, he's just on exactly. He's petrified, but he's doing it right. He's a little overacty, but I love it.
Yeah, I love it. He needed for this. He's great. So he is, as I say, he's class, and he plays it like a guy, but is at the end of his tether that has tried everything with this kid, and realized he mentions it in his speeches later. He realizes there's nothing I can do for this guy. We just got to keep him locked up.
That's it. And, at least you can recognize he doesn't deserve to ever be out there. Just keep him where he is and we'll all be fine.
Because this is no ordinary being we're dealing with.
Nope. It's just evil.
This is evil. So, cut to, you want to see my bad Loomis impression throughout all this, John?
Don't worry. I'll be doing it with you the whole way too. Don't worry. I'm watching fun with that.
Yeah, definitely. So cut the street day, Haddonfield, Halloween, music's playing. Now, there's not many leafless trees.
No, I mean, and that's the problem. We do see some palm trees and everything. It just looks like they sprayed down some water, like on some of these streets. Just classic low budget stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of. I mean, this is going out on Halloween Day, but we're pretty much in the, 20 days into October here, and you want to see the leaves land at my street here, and the trees are, most of the leaves are nearly gone. And the place is just orange with leaves.
Yep. As I was just saying to Faith this morning when we were driving along, I'm like, no more green leaves left at all. And it's funny because this movie's supposed to be Halloween Day.
Yeah. And it's beautiful looking. I love it this time of year. It's absolutely beautiful. Even when it's bright outside and you see all the oranges and the browns and stuff. It's class.
Beautiful. Best time of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when it starts getting dark early and then you see all those different colors. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't see it here.
No, not at all. They're not able to do that because they had bags of dead leaves and that was it.
Do you hear the rumor that Robert Englund was one of the guys helping them rake the leaves after they filmed and put them in bags to use in the next scene?
I did hear that. And I guess that would kind of add up. It's 1978. He was young. I heard he tried out for Luke Skywalker a couple years before this. Like he was still living with Mark Hamill.
Yeah. So I don't know if that is a myth,
I know it seems too clean, right? Like it adds up too much.
Yeah, an urban legend.
Yeah, seems too fortunate.
Yeah. So we see Laurie Strode emerging from the house carrying her school books, knee-high socks. I thought they were knee-high, but later on I realized they were tights. Lawn skirt and a cardigan.
Just
goody
like
two shoes.
100%. I mean, and a 70s goody two shoes at that. My God.
Yeah. And her dad comes out. I think it's the only time we see her dad in the whole movie, and tells her not to forget to leave the key at the Myers place. I think he says that there's people coming out to view the house at 10:30, and you see on the side of his car Strode Realty on the side of his car. So as Laurie's walking along, a boy comes running up there. It's Tommy Doyle, and he's asking if she's coming over tonight and can they make jack-o'-lanterns, watch a monster movie, and make popcorn. And he asks why she's going to school this way, and she explains that Dad's going to sell the Myers house, so she needs to drop a key off there. Tommy says, that's the spooky house, and Laurie puts the key under the mat, but someone is watching her from the inside. We can hear breathing, and a shadow emerges as she walks away.
Yeah, I love these little hints of Michael throughout the town. And why is he watching her?
Yeah, well, it's really funny because it's like when we talk about Scream, like what is the motive? What is Myers' motive? Is it because, like, for example, is this because she came to his? Now take the sequels out of the equation. Because she came to his door, he zeroes in on her. It's the same with her friends. They have interactions with him later on, and then he starts stalking them.
See, that's always what I took it as, and I feel like they didn't have a great reason. They just wanted him to be pure evil, like in this movie, and maybe not question what his reason is, but why does he target these people? Because they obviously try to give you an answer directly in the sequel, and that's kind of like this myth that went on for the rest of the films. And I think people have circled back and said that's why, is because of that. But if you're just looking at this in a bubble, I thought it was just because they literally came to his house, and he's there. He's at his house. Why is he there? He went to the last place he knows, his home, and now these people came to his home. So that's the people he sees.
Yeah. It's just it's the first ones he kind of interacts with. So that's and then one of them insults him later, and he thinks, "Oh, I'm gonna get you."
Oh yeah. One thing I do have to point out in these early scenes. They try and cover it up and hang a lantern on it. The driving. Where the hell did he learn to drive that well? He's a better driver than me.
Yeah, well, that's a great scene that I'm going to get to very soon, which is some good lines in that, John, that I love. So
It raises a great question because I want to be taught by him.
Yeah. So Tommy says the house is haunted and you shouldn't go up there. But then he tells her he'll see her tonight, and Laurie starts singing, "I wish I had you all alone." I've got a cold.
You'd still did good.
Thanks, John.
Mm.
See if you think out when you watch this back. So the Shape watches her leave, so he comes out and you see her watching, and I love how they do the heavy breathing coming through the mask. You know, that's very
Oh,
kind of
great. And it sounds like,
yeah.
I don't know if you've ever worn a plastic mask like that, but they got
Yeah.
the perfect audio for it. It sounds just like that when you're breathing it. And if you've ever also worn it, it's a very uncomfortable mask to wear.
Yeah, and very warm.
Yeah.
There's no scene where he takes it off and he's like, oh, Jesus, I need some fresh air.
Yeah, like, why are you putting yourself through this, man?
Walking away with a Halloween mask on. I'm sure nobody knows who he looks like anyway. He's been locked up for years.
Yeah, you were a child when you went away. You're an adult now.
I know. So this is the scene here, John. Cut to Dr. Loomis having a heated discussion with another doctor about Michael Myers escaping from the hospital the night before. The doctor says he's not responsible, and if precautions were strong enough, Loomis should have. If precautions weren't strong enough, Loomis should have told somebody.
I told everybody.
Yeah, he does. Loomis shouts, I told everybody. Nobody listened.
And he's right. Every time you're with him, he tells everybody how evil Michael is. He's never shy about that. So I'm pretty confident he let everyone know, and they just blew him off.
And they're just like,
he's crazy. He's nuts. That's it. Meanwhile, he's 100% right about Michael every time.
Yeah. And then Loomis says, Loomis tells him to get back on the phone and tell him exactly who walked out of there and where he's going. But the other doctor says probably where he's going. Haddonfield is 100. He says probably where he's going. Haddonfield is 150 miles away. And now, for God's sake, he can't even drive a car. And Loomis says he was doing very well last night.
Probably someone around here taught him.
Yeah, somebody around here give him lessons. And I put it here. He throws his Columbo raincoat into his car and drives off.
That's what I mean with him in the beige. I always think of him in that jacket.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might have been in his own jacket, or I might get mixed up with Columbo. But it is a very Columbo-esque raincoat. But they were probably very common back then.
Yeah, I feel like that was a thing at the time of like people like wearing suits to work kind of thing.
He's right. Where did he learn to drive?
Again, it just makes he drives perfectly the night before, and every time he's driving around Haddonfield, they even show like shots of his hands. Perfect driving, he had to have gotten lessons. It looks like he got driving lessons.
Yeah, that doctor was teaching him around the car park.
Yeah, the one like
doesn't want to tell him this.
Yeah, the one that said that if you should have told somebody, that doctor, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I just know he was telling everyone, Loomis. I know it.
Yeah. So we cut to Laurie in class, and she looks out the window, sees the car, and Michael stole, and he's staring at her, and then she looks again, and he's gone. So this scene here, this brief scene, just reminds me of the scene in Scream where you see Sidney looking at the empty desk.
100% in a classroom and everything. It's the same thing. I think it's
like right beside the window.
Yeah, very early in the movie too. Probably like because this is like kind of late in the first act. I would say right there too.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's Laurie's seat that's missing because she's right beside the window. It's like Laurie would have been sitting in that seat.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? If they picked that the exact same way.
Yeah, so there's that. That's another one that I noticed when I was watching this again. I was like, reminds me of Scream. So the next scene, school finishes, and Tommy is carrying the biggest pumpkin I have ever seen.
I feel so bad for him in this sequence because those kids are such little assholes.
They're pecking on him, so they are. They're taunting him. The boogeyman is going to get him. He's going to get you. Boogeyman's coming. Going to get you.
Kids are the worst.
Yeah, and one of them says, "Don't you know what happens in Halloween?" And then Tommy says, "Yeah, we get candy."
That's true.
It is true. And then they go, "The boogeyman's coming," and they trip him up, and he falls on top of his pumpkin, crushing it. I feel sorry for him. Crushes his big, massive pumpkin, and he has to leave it behind.
I feel so bad for him. And I love, actually, this is what you were talking about earlier, how people might not realize things are like done in one shot. This whole thing's kind of done in one shot, how he gets up and like we get shooted from the perspective of the car. I like that.
Yeah, that's great, actually, because they run, and one of them runs into Michael, and
Mm.
that the
The
Halloween music
sting.
starts. Yeah, there's a lot of stings in this movie.
Mhm.
There's a sting, yeah, and then you get a do 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 do, and Michael is stalking Tommy. He's watching Tommy. Now I wonder, is that because he's seen Tommy that morning outside the house?
Yeah, exactly. That's why he followed him. That's like that's why your theory is 100% right. It's like he's just following the people he's seen so far.
Yeah, I wonder in his mind, does he think he's come back to his home and thought, "Where's my family?" And then they came to the door, and he's went, "Well, why have they came here? They must have answers."
Well, we don't really know his motivation or like what his mind is. As we know from Loomis, Loomis thinks there's nothing there. So like, what's driving him right now? We don't know what his driving force is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. So as you say, he stalks Tommy, he gets into his car, and you've got that shot of him, the following him in the car. And then we cut back to Sam Loomis. We see a sign beside Sam saying Haddonfield 73 miles away. So he's drove 77 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right? 77 miles. And he's in a payphone. He's talking to the Haddonfield police. Now I love this. He's telling them he's on his way. I'm his doctor. You must be ready for him. If you don't, it's your funeral. And just hangs the phone up.
Very direct. He's probably sick at telling people at this point.
He's just going to be telling people he's on his way. He's coming. He's coming.
Don't tell me I didn't warn. That's why he gets so mad and snaps the other guy. Like, don't tell me I didn't tell anybody. I tell everybody.
Sick telling people.
He probably introduced himself, Sam Loomis, Michael Myers' doctor.
Yes, Sam Loomis, Michael Myers' doctor. You know he's evil.
He's evil.
Never let him out. So he notices an abandoned car, convenient, and Michael's white gowns and the matches. He picks up the matches that were in the car that he's seen at the start. He notices them on the dashboard.
Yep.
Which was the nurses' cigarettes and matches.
It's all adding up. He knows who it is.
Yep. But he doesn't see the dead body. He doesn't look for who owns the car. He sees the gowns. He sees the matches. And then he gets up and he lifts them and he runs. And then there's a pan to the right and we see a naked dead body lying in the bushes with a very nice 70s mustache.
Yep. And we assume that this is where he got his coveralls.
This is where he's a mechanic. That's where he got them. So we cut to Laurie leaving school with Linda, played by PJ Souls. Totally.
To get my hair done at 5 and the dance is at 8. I'll be totally wiped out.
I don't think you have enough to do tomorrow.
Totally.
And Annie joins them, played by Oscar winner Nancy Loomis.
This is the worst scene in the movie. And it's really kind of like drops the movie down for me as these girls just talking.
Now I know they're supposed to be like teenage girls, cheerleaders. You know, apart from Laurie, she's supposed to be like a goody two shoes type of
bookworm
type of character. But they're cheerleaders. They're talking about that. They're talking about going to dances and boys. And Laurie doesn't seem interested, and they're giving her a hard time about that. And yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the middle of this movie, John. It's just so.
It's tedious. It's like we have to kind of like, it almost feels like after coming off like the great opening, like we kind of have these like low moments of them just being together, which, you know, we're supposed to build up. It's storytelling. So we're supposed to build up these characters so that when they die, we had some kind of like relationship with them. The problem is the relationship we're building up with them. Like they're just so one note and the dialogue is not great. And then they're not good enough actors to overcome the bad dialogue.
Yeah. It's uninteresting. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, they're trying to build up these typical teenage girls just doing a normal, typical teenage thing on a Halloween night. And then this happens to them. And that's bad, as you say, it's bad to make it feel more horrific because these are people that we could know. But a lot of their dialogue, I think, is terrible. A lot of their line delivery is terrible. And it goes on that long to the point where you're bored of it.
You're bored in this entire sequence. I like them walking down here, other than like the little part with Michael looking at him. But then what's her name? Nancy Loomis, whichever one walks over there ruins the whole thing by like with her dialogue delivery about it. He wants to talk to you.
Laurie dear. But first they before that, he passes in the car. And Annie shouts, obviously she's the one with the big mouth. She shouts, "Hey, jerk, speed kills." And then the car stops. And they're like, "God, can't he take a joke?" And Laurie says, "You know, Annie, someday you're gonna get us all into deep trouble." And Linda says, "Totally." And totally. And then Annie says, I hate a guy with a car with no sense of humor.
Why would he have a sense of humor about that anyway? He just screamed speed kills as he was driving by.
I know, all he did was driving past. You know what I
If
mean? So as he
anyone
meant,
says, if you scream something at anyone in a car, you're expecting no reaction, and you're always a little disappointed when you get a reaction, right?
yeah, do you expect him to just drive down the road laughing?
Yeah, like, oh, you're so funny.
So they discuss their plans for the night. Annie says that the Wallaces leave at 7, and Linda says Bob and her have been planning it all week. You know what she's been planning? Yeah, and Laurie says she's babysitting the Doyds three houses down, which actually, but it's actually across the street.
Yeah, I
Kinda
know.
crazy.
I don't understand that either. I always thought it was. I'm trying to think like, is she thinking about like 3 houses down like that way? I don't understand.
Like 3, like
1, 2, 3, like make an
one,
L.
one,
Like,
two. Oh, like a hell, is a cul-de-sac? No, I mean, but
yeah,
it's not. It's
doesn't make
across the
sense.
road.
You
Yeah,
would just, and no one would ever say that. You would just say the house across the street. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And if it was 3 houses down, you would say, yeah, 3 houses down, but it's not.
it's not. It's not. There's no logic behind. I don't know. Maybe it was just written in the script that way, and when they shot it, like they were shooting these scenes at this time, and there's just a continuity error.
Yeah, it's probably continuity, mate, to be honest, more than anything.
Yeah.
So they can keep each other company. Annie says, terrific. I've got 3 choices. Watch the kids sleep, listen to Linda screw around, or talk to you. I don't know what that accent was about there. But it's just so monotone when she does it in the movie. It's just so monotone.
I thought you'd perform better than she did, honestly. So
that's the problem. I can't bring myself down to her level, John.
no, you're not getting
I'm not good.
there.
So all the girls walk Linda. Sorry, all the girls walk, and Linda gets home. Laurie there's a bit here, John. Laurie sees Mars bad bush, and she tells Annie, and Annie goes to confront him, but no one's there. And that's when she says, Laurie, dear, he wants to talk to you. He wants to take you out tonight. Poor Laurie, scared another one away. I think you're a wacko. Now you're seeing men behind bushes. And she's a terrible actress, but she's also a terrible friend.
Right? I'm wondering if it's just the acting, but yeah, she's a terrible friend. I wouldn't want to be friends with her. She's just always punching down on you. She's like kind of a bully.
Yeah. Look, I get that she's maybe trying to build, well, that's not a way to build confidence, but she's trying to get her to come out of her shell and get her to go out on dates. And they've probably known each other for years. And maybe that's why she feels like she can rip on her. But it does come across bordering on, abuse and bullying.
We never get a warm moment of her. Like, she's the whole time that she's in this movie, her entire character is like this to everybody. She's always nagging at someone.
Yeah, and as we see, some of it is just to get her own way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. So it's probably worked before, but it's so one note in the film.
Yeah. So then Laurie bumps into Annie arrives home, and then Laurie bumps into Annie's dad, Sheriff Lee Brackett. And he's like, hello, Laurie. He's another wooden one. But,
oh my god, yeah, I know. And it's so much more obvious how bad of an actor he is when he's up against Donald Pleasance a little bit later in the movie when they got to deliver like Donald Pleasance perfectly in character, and then him like delivering his lines just feels like someone delivering lines.
But she says, I'm sorry, and he says, it's okay, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, which is a good line.
Good and it's a legendary line from this movie. Like that, if you ever see any montages of horror films, that line's always delivered in there.
Yeah, that's right, definitely. So Laurie gets home. This is the scene here, John, we mentioned earlier on. She sees kids trick-or-treating in her, so she does it before she goes in. And in her bedroom, she sees Michael watching her from the bedroom window outside beyond the washing. Then he's gone, and then her phone rings, and there's nothing. And then it rings again, and this time it's Annie. Why she hung up? What was she doing down the phone again?
Chewing. She said she was eating when she called. And if you actually go back and listen, there's chewing. She is chewing. Why you call up somebody and not answer the question while chewing, I don't know what you're going for here. But this is also a little bit of like something that would play back later in the movie where she's like, first I get your favorite chew. First I get your famous chewing. Now I get your famous squealing.
I know it's ridiculous. Some of the dialogue, but as you said earlier, John, she says she's going to pick her up at 6:30. And then she lies in her bed and she says, calm down. This is ridiculous. So the stalking and the paranoia is upsetting Laurie at this stage. She's a wee bit on edge. But yeah, this scene on the phone and stuff just reminded me a bit of, as I say, Sydney in Scream, where she got the call from Tatum to say, I'll come pick you up later. She says she's getting out of her mum's car. So Laurie leaves home with a pumpkin. And I love this cool kind of music they're playing here when she leaves.
Yeah, good pieces. Very good piece of music. I agree.
Yeah. And she watches the trick-or-treaters while waiting on Annie.
At least we got to see some trick-or-treaters in this film.
I know it's early evening, but and then Annie pulls up and Laurie gets in. Now, I made a note here. It's 6:30. You would know better than me. Should it not be dark?
Well, right now is 5:04. You can see the sun behind me still out. 6:30. The sun's setting, but it's not completely down yet. So that's
Right.
actually kind of accurate, actually, on that sense. The sun would be completely down by about 7:15.
Right, okay. Because right now, here I know I'm not in America, obviously I'm in Ireland. The sun sets between 6:30, 7, and that'll start to draw in. Our clocks go back this weekend, which is the weekend. I think it's this weekend, and that'll be the weekend before Halloween.
We do the weekend after.
So if you take into consideration then if it's starting to get dark about 6:30 here, it'll be 5:30. It'll start to get dark by next week.
Yeah, so this is a little bit. So this would be a little bit more accurate, actually, to us. They got it about. I would say they actually got it pretty accurate. The sun's setting at this point.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I just wanted to ask you because I was like, that would be a big thing to get wrong. But I was kind of like, well, maybe it's artistic license, maybe because they didn't have the money to film that at nighttime, these scenes, or maybe there was some kind of reason why they wanted to film in the daylight. I don't know.
I think it's still a little too bright. I actually think, like we talked about, Scream gets it right perfectly as far as the times go and like what their sun is actually at.
Yeah. Whereas like Scream was filmed in spring, but I don't know when the movie's supposed to be set.
Yeah, that's also true. We never really know when that movie's. It kind of does feel like the spring.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, because they're wearing t-shirts and stuff. I know. Obviously, different parts of the world it probably be warmer. At certain times of the year anyway. But they're wearing t-shirts and shorts and things like that, aren't they? In certain scenes, skirts and things like that.
It always felt like April, May to me for that movie. But there's no question about this movie, though.
Yeah. No question at all. So Loomis arrives at the graveyard with the I call them the gatekeeper. Is it the crypt keeper? The gatekeeper, I call them, is the crypt keeper.
The grave digger.
Yeah, well, the guy that works at the graveyard, and they're looking for Judith Myers' plot, row 18, slot 20. But when they got there, her tombstone is gone.
Why do they do it?
Goddamn kids, they do anything for Halloween. And Loomis is just like, he came home.
Yeah, that's it. Loomis knows. He's just like, he already knows what's going to happen everywhere they go. He's not surprised anymore.
I love how they try and build the tension and the suspense. It's like, whose grave is this? And he's like, plot 17, 18, 19. Judith Myers.
Like, we don't know. We know way before he knows.
And it's like, and that's where he goes, he came home. Yeah. So cut to Laurie and Annie driving and smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fear the Reapers on the radio.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Yep. The classic.
And we also in Scream.
Yes, 100% homage in Scream to this. Fitting song for the movie as well.
Oh yeah.
You listen to the lyrics?
Oh yeah, 100%. That one definitely tips off this movie.
Mm-hmm. Michael's following them, and they are discussing Laurie being spooked and their plans for the evening. And then Annie's like, "My dad."
Oh yeah, and this is ridiculous. I don't know if you've ever smoked weed in your life, but I'm sure you've smelt it. I don't care what the hell you do, he's gonna smell that weed, and he's a cop. But yeah, I don't believe that for a second that he doesn't get at least a whiff of that.
When she says get rid of this, and then because we'll get to that because it's kind of mentioned, isn't it? And then so they pull up at the hardware store and ask what happened, and Sheriff Brackett surmises kids broke into the hardware store and all they stole was Halloween masks, rope, and knives. So they drive off then, and Loomis arrives. and he appears on the scene as they drive off, and he introduces himself and asks Sheriff Brackett for a word. But do you notice the car in the background?
Yeah, and honestly, there's a lot of stuff if you pay attention. Michael's around in the background. It took me like numerous watch throughs to actually notice like where he is. One I'm really embarrassed about. Took me way too many watch throughs, which we'll get to. Because I guess because I just don't have the greatest vision. But I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's right there the entire time.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. He doesn't point it out to make sure when we get it.
I will, and you'll be like, "Are you serious?"
Okay. No worry. I'm looking forward to hearing that, John. Whenever you get it, just stop me. So, but where was I here? But I wrote here. Loomis doesn't see it. He's looking for this guy. Stole this car, and he's standing on the sidewalk, kind of going looking this way. He's like, the car just goes right behind him.
Well, he's a doctor. He's not a detective.
Why has he got Columbo's coat and a gun?
I know. Well, he needs the cops' help. Like he's going to these towns trying to. He can't do nothing without the cop. Even though he actually is the ones who ends up discovering where he is. But still, he's not a cop. He's not a real good. He doesn't got the nose for it.
No, he doesn't. You're right, 100%. He does need the cops. He needs their legal authority to do what he's doing.
Yeah, well, he makes it clear. Like he shows him the permit for the gun. Like he wants to make sure he follows the law.
Yeah, that's right. Brackett says he will be 10 minutes, and Loomis says, I'll be here. And Michael drives past Loomis. So here we go, John. Back to Laurie and Annie in the car. And Laurie's worried Brackett could smell the weed. And but she's like, no, he couldn't. So there you go. That's
There's no way he doesn't smell the weed. No way. That's such a strong smell.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, he's a cop, so he should know what that smells like.
He'll find it at 100. That's what I mean. He's even more likely. You could fool maybe somebody else. Maybe. Like, that's even a stretch. But you ain't fooling a cop.
Yeah. I think he's turning a blind eye, though.
I think maybe that's what they're implying. Like, John Carpenter loves weed. And it seems like everybody around him does, too. So,
yeah.
I'm sure that's why that's even in there.
Yeah, because, like, he would know then that he would be able to smell it.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's just turning a blind eye because it's his daughter, and she's a teenager,
Yeah, just to show he's not hard-nosed cop. You know what I mean? Kind doesn't care.
Yeah, because she even made the comment, "You always think it's kids," and he's like, "Oh no, well, look what they took. Like, it seems like kids."
Yeah. So Annie is encouraging Laurie not to be a prude or so frigid. I wrote here, and she's really taunting Laurie about her shyness, and Laurie admits she likes the mighty Ben Tremer.
She shouldn't have said that because now she won't get off it.
And he says, "I knew it." So you do think about things like that?
I know, and that's it. That's all she needed to hear.
So Michael continues to follow them, and the music's playing again, the Halloween music, and then we cut to night, and Laurie goes to the Doyles, and Michael gets out of the car and walks across the street and watches as Annie arrives at the Wallaces, and the parents leave. Loomis and Brackett arrive at the Myers house, and Loomis asks, "Does anybody live here?" And he says, "Not since 1963 when it happened. Every kid in Haddonfield thinks this place is haunted." And Loomis says, "They might be right."
So this is the scene that you kind of broke Brackett for me. Like I never really looked at him too much and like what he's doing, but Loomis is doing, Donald Pleasant is doing such a good job. Anytime he talks, it just feels like he's reading lines, and he's very stiff, like you said.
Yeah, that's right. Inside, they find a dead dog.
Very sad.
It's a dog, isn't it? Because
it's a German Shepherd, and I don't like that because I have a German Shepherd.
Because I had the subtitles up and it said dove.
Yeah, no, it's a dog.
A dead dove. So yeah,
he's eating them.
Yeah, and Loomis is like, he got hungry.
Yeah.
And he's like, Brackett says it could have been a skunk, and Loomis says could have, and Brackett says a man would need that, and Loomis says this isn't a man.
That's what he's not understanding.
Yeah. But I love how he's like entertaining their suggestions, like a doctor does, but could be. But
Yeah.
no, I'm telling you, it's not. Could be that. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But to go upstairs, and I just love the mood and atmosphere in this scene, John. Now that we've got the nighttime again, and you see the shadows on the walls, and while I go upstairs, and it's really is great work.
Yeah, I love also I've never seen them in person, but I've seen it in this movie and in Roadhouse, windows that go from the floor to the ceiling like that.
Yeah, where is that? Is that in the bedroom?
Yeah, when they're upstairs
Was
in
that in
her
the
old
bedroom?
in her old bedroom, like when they're in there and like you can see the windows against the wall and they're like just these really large windows. Like you've never like honestly, I'm like, I think that the reason they stopped using windows like that is because like if someone comes in there a little hot and they trip, they could fall right out that
Yeah,
single
yeah.
pane glass too.
Well, if it is like that, yeah, I know now. There's laws around the height, and if it's below a certain height, well, it is over here, and if it's below a certain height, you have to get it um uh, toughened glass and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that looks like single pane glass.
yeah,
Like, and like if she would have like tripped and fell out the window, it'd make a lot of sense.
yeah. Yeah, what would be one way to go, isn't it? Rather than getting stabbed, what if you had just pushed her out the window?
Right? Easier. And then you could also like frame it as, but I don't think he was thinking that.
No, he wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking Max Shrek level
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. She just fell out the window.
Yeah. Tries to blackmail me. I'll push her out a high window.
Did you get hurt on your skiing trip? Is that why you're back so soon?
Why he fixes his sticky bow.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah. So Loomis leads Brackett to Judith's old bedroom. And a gutter swings down, breaks the window. Loomis jumps and he pulls his gun. That's what you said there. He says, "You must think me a very sinister doctor." Oh, I do have a permit. So
Yeah.
shows the permit. And Brackett says he looks to me, "You're just plain scared," and he says, "Yes, I am." And this is the scene. "I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left, no reason, no conscience, no understanding in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with his blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him and another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was pure and simply evil."
And that's it. Awesomely delivered by you, by the way. Maybe not quite Donald Pleasance levels, but very good.
I have a cold and I haven't practiced, so
Fair enough. Fair enough. I
Yeah.
mean, still very good though.
Thank you, and I think that's the best speech in the whole movie. And I don't think
Oh, yeah.
I think the most hardened Halloween fans would probably agree with me. He does another one later, which is good, but not quite as good. And I'll read that one too for you, John.
Yeah,
But
no, this is the whole movie for me. Like, it's like that's why I always get so upset with the Rob Zombie Halloween and why people like like giving him a motive. Like, I like that the simple reasoning is just that he's evil and we don't understand. Like, I think that's more than enough. Like, this guy is just that he's purely evil. Why is he evil? I don't know. We don't need to know. I think that's fine.
Yeah, and as I touched on, I think you touched on it earlier. You said it earlier in the pod that the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. That's just taken from Jaws. It has to
Yeah.
be.
Right? It sounds very similar. You think of that when you hear it.
Yeah, John Carpenter said the boy he seen in that hospital, he says was like, I'm not sure if he's said black eyes, but he did say something about his eyes. You know what I mean? There was nothing there, which is fair enough. But to hear that actual line, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, the black eyes, like a doll's eyes, to me, it's just a reference to Jaws.
From all these film fans that are making this movie, you know Jaws. You can't even play like, ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think it's intentionally a reference to Jaws. I think he's just taking it. Do you know what I mean? It's just went, I'm going to put that in my film.
That's true.
You
Very
know?
possible.
That's what I think anyway. But Brackett wants to notify the radio and television, but Loomis just rules out against it. He says they'll be seeing him in every street corner. And Brackett says he'll check back on Loomis at the house in an hour. So he's basically said, look, just tell your men to keep their eyes peeled. So back at the Doyle household, Laurie is reading to Tommy when he asks about the boogeyman when Annie calls and the dog's barking and she asks Lindsay to let the dog out. In the meantime, Michael appears at the window. Annie tells Laurie she told Ben Schramer she has the hats for him. And Tommy Doyle looks out the window and he sees Michael across the road at the Wallace house, staring across at his house. And he tells Laurie, the boogeyman's outside, look. And she looks and there's nobody there. She tells him to go watch TV. And then we cut to Michael watching and listening to Annie through the patio doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is where Annie spills butter on herself. So she hangs up and quickly undresses and only a shirt. And Michael's still watching. He smashes a flower pot. So it's almost like there's this correlation here, John, that we see that comes into a lot of slasher movies from this movie here. It's also touched on again in Jaws that, if you have sex or if you do anything promiscuous, that you die. You see Michael's sister at the start of the movie having sex and she is murdered. Now we see Annie, who is setting this night up to have sex, but what seems to anger Michael is the fact that he's taken her clothes off, reminding him of his sister at the start when she's just in her underwear.
Mm-hmm. He's acting out now.
He's angry at that.
Mm-hmm.
So just like he did all them years earlier. But the dog comes across and starts barking at him, and he kills it.
Yeah, another German Shepherd, by the way. Hate to see that.
Yeah, so he's a dog killer as well. And
well, that's them trying to illustrate how evil he is. He doesn't care about anything.
Yeah, because we know people who see dogs get harmed in movies. People don't care about seeing people being killed in movies. Every movie to watch, but when an animal gets hurt or killed, they're very upset.
It's the same thing as a child because they're innocent. It's the innocence. Like, these creatures aren't trying to do anything wrong to anybody, and now you killed it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with a dog as a child.
Yeah, that's right. And then we cut to the Thing from Another World starts on the television with Laurie and Tommy watching. Now, the thing about this is, okay, this is 78. I wasn't born then. And I know, like, it's nearly 50 years ago. It's like a lifetime away, and the world was completely different. And when you think about it, The Thing came out when? In the early 50s?
Yeah.
Now, these are movies that John Carpenter grew up watching in the 50s, maybe early 60s. And I know people like John Carpenter love these type of movies. But I find it odd that an 8 or 9-year-old in 78 would be interested in watching that type of movie.
Yeah, I assume it's just because of the holiday. They're watching scary movies. But it also feels like John Carpenter wanting to put that in his movie.
Yeah, well, he wants to reference it because they're the favorite movies that he grew up watching. So we know he goes on to remake The Thing a few years later. Deborah Hill did say that the part of the movie was influenced on the movies that they grew up watching. So we know why it's there. I just don't see an 8-year-old being engrossed in a movie like that, a black and white movie like that in 1978. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm always curious because these kids are now trick-or-treating. Like, she's just home watching a movie. I guess that's what her parents wanted her to do, was hang out with the babysitter, and that's why she's in the room watching the movie. And also at the time, there's only like 3 or 4 channels. They don't really have many options. Yeah. So I'm sure that's a big reason too.
Annie had said about she was going to let her watch something 6 hours straight, and she's going to be terrified. So she's just letting her watch whatever she wants, like all the horror movies that are on. Tommy's dressed up, I think, as an astronaut or something.
Yeah, he's dressed up as an astronaut.
So he's dressed up, but she's not. The girl isn't. So Tommy asks about the boogeyman again and tells Laurie Richie says he was coming after him tonight. She tells him there's no such thing. Halloween night, people play tricks on each other. It's all make-believe. Richie was trying to scare him. And Tommy says, I saw the boogeyman. I saw him tonight. I saw him outside. And Laurie says the boogeyman can only come out at Halloween night. And she won't let anything happen. So they go to carve the pumpkin. So I love this, that they're setting up the boogeyman is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I take it because he reads comics. He's probably read this in a comic. That's what I'm assuming, because he tells her about the comic books he reads, and he says, my parents don't let me read them, so I hide them under the sofa. So he's seeing this entity, and he's saying, that's the boogeyman. And she's going, that's nonsense. He doesn't exist. So I like that kind of mini arc there, that by the end of the movie, she has to admit there is such thing as the boogeyman.
Yeah, exactly. She has to finally come to it, and like that's why she didn't think it was real. Then Sam Loomis like lays it out at the end. Actually, I think it is. Like when we get to it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact. It was.
It was, yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, and that's building up. He is the boogeyman. He's the
Y-
shape.
Yeah. So I like that whole type of, as Carpenter says, this mythology about who is the boogeyman. Does he exist? No, he doesn't exist. But Tommy believes that, he does exist, and I can only assume he's got it from his comic books because where would he have heard about it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Annie makes her way to the laundry room to wash her soiled clothes. And the light's not working. Michael's stalking her, and she gets trapped in the room, and she's shouting, "Lindsay!"
Yeah, so this is where she like she's getting stalked. Like at first she's just kind of walking around and we see Michael stalking her and there's a sting in the score and then we don't see him at one point.
Yeah.
Like that I never noticed he was there. That until like probably like 6 or 7 years ago. I just
So I'm trying to think because in these scenes, John, there's loads of wee scenes where he's there and then he's not. Now
Uh-huh.
there's a scene just after this where he's standing at the back doors.
That's
And
the one.
is that the one? But he
Yeah.
might be in the laundry scene. I can't remember. All I remember is that the door closes and locks her in, so she tries to climb out the window. So he might be there somewhere. I can't remember. Lindsay's busy watching the TV and the phone goes, and she's shouting, "Get the phone! It's Paul, Lindsay!" And I'm just like, I'm like, she's really gagging for Paul's joint.
Oh yeah, she's dying for it. I mean, they all are. They really like these girls. They're horny. They really want it. Like
They really are, because I meant to mention earlier on when the car passes, I think it's Linda says something like, "Where is it?" I think it's Devin Graham. And somebody's like, "It's not," and she's like, "Oh, I think he's so cute," even though she's got Bob.
she doesn't care. She's just looking to get laid.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, she's like busting for this guy Paul, whoever he is. But she's stuck climbing out the window, and Lindsay helps her, and she says, "Promise you won't tell anybody about this." But she goes straight back into the house and goes on the phone and tells him. Lindsay gets stuck in the window.
Yeah, she doesn't care. She doesn't respect her at all.
Yeah,
she thinks she's an idiot.
Yeah, and so Annie's on the phone with Paul, and he wants her to come pick him up. And Michael's lurking at the door again. She doesn't see him. So that's the one you were saying that you didn't realize he come the way the camera's kind of sitting in the kitchen. She's wandering the phone. She walks past the door, and then he comes walking out and he appears. And then as the camera follows her to the left, and then as it pans back again, he's not there anymore.
Yeah, but there's an even obvious thing to let you know that he's there and that he's not there, and I still didn't catch it.
Still didn't catch on. It was him.
It took a while.
But I like that it's not right on the nose. You know, the stain sometimes gives it away, but I like that it's not just right on the nose of, it's one of those things, subliminal things too. If you're watching the movie for the first time and you can't stop it and you can't rewind it and you can't pause it, you're just like, did I just see him? I did see. I seen him standing there. He's not there anymore.
Well, that's what they're going for, is they want you to not see him because, like, he's not in focus. He's in the background. She's in the foreground.
Yeah.
That's who they want. The camera's following her around. So they want us to follow her around and focus on her. But you're like, did I see Michael?
Yeah. And question yourself, did I see him? And then it kind of creeps you out.
Exactly.
So it does. Yeah. So Annie and Lindsay make their Lindsay doesn't want to go with her to pick Paul up. So Annie says yes, she can fix it so she can watch TV with Tommy Doyle instead. How exciting.
Oh, yeah, right? You get to see your little classmate.
See Tommy Doyle. So Annie and Lindsay make their way to the Doyles and Michael's watching. Laurie tells Annie she wants her to call Sexy Ben Tramer and tell him she was fooling around. However, Annie says she can't as he's out late drinking. And if Annie watches Lindsay for her, she'll consider telling Ben in the morning as she's going to pick up Paul. Deal. Annie says she can't call her she'll call her in an hour and leaves. And then Laurie turns and says, "The old Girl Scout comes through again." Cut to Annie making her way to the garage singing a terrible song. "Oh, Paul."
Well, why try acting good now?
Yeah. Yeah. And she's no keys. So she goes back in for the keys. Look, again, different eras, John, different times. It's the 70s. But the people just leave their front doors open.
I don't know. I don't think they do that. Like I understand not locking the door, but leaving it open, no.
I would see didn't lock. We see just walked in through the front door. It was closed, but it wasn't locked.
Okay, like you can leave it unlocked. I can understand that a little bit. As
All
long
right.
as
Well,
it's closed.
if you're going out, what? If you're going out,
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I've done it actually. What am I saying? I've left my doors unlocked. Yeah, I have. I've never really and not Matt. Matt, when he drives his car, he's an idiot. He leaves his keys in the ignition everywhere he goes, so it's always unlocked and the keys are always in the ignition.
still, I would never dream of going out and leave my doors unlocked. Not a chance.
No, I
No
mean,
way.
there's not really many robberies, and I mean, I got cameras, so I mean, you can give it a whirl. Other than the movies here, there's really not much of value anyway. So
Is that much to take apart from that Nightmare on Elm Street steelbook?
exactly,
That's
sitting
there.
right there, and not to mention you're gonna run into two pretty big dogs. So have at it.
Yeah, well, there's that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. But no, I found that weird that she didn't lock the front door. Somebody else's house when she was leaving. And anyway, different times, as you say, nice neighborhood. Maybe you could do that back then.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I know people do it.
Yeah. So yeah. So she goes back to the car, and this is the thing: the car's unlocked. Yet a minute ago it was locked. She doesn't catch on. Too busy singing her song about "Oh, Paul." She gets in and then realizes why the window's steamed.
Yep. Which, by the way, I love the shot of the steamed windows and shooting it from the outside. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great shot. It's a great scare from the back seat when Mars jumps up and strangles her. This is the first killing we've seen since the start of the movie, and we're like probably like almost an hour in, maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah,
50 minutes.
It was and you feel it. I'm not gonna lie, you do feel that low.
You do. It does get a bit slow in the middle of this. It really does.
Picks up right here because this scene is so good and the sting in the score is so good.
Yeah, this is where it starts to pick up. And as I say, I feel as if in a lot of ways that this movie is a bit dated in that sense. I feel like there's an awful lot of movies have surpassed it since.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the first one to do it. That's why it kind of gets a pass, why it's historic, the holiday, the title, all that kind of ties in. Like, and you kind of can forgive that low, but it's very noticeable.
Yeah, and I think as well, John, is that, I do feel as if just like Psycho, and even The Exorcist to a certain extent, because it is done in that kind of documentary style, Halloween is in that same vein of this is very grounded. It feels very real, even though they want Myers to have that mythical kind of aura about him. It still feels a very grounded, a very real movie. So when you have that lull, through the movie, it just feels. They want it just to feel like that normal day with normal everyday people doing normal everyday mundane things. So when the kills do come, I suppose they're counting on the suspense and the tension, and it's more shocking that you've spent the whole movie with these characters, and then all of a sudden they start getting killed off one by one. But I do find it is a bit of a slog sometimes for a movie that's only 85 minutes long. That whole, from the opening scenes, then to get to here, you're waiting maybe 40 minutes.
And you could argue it doesn't really let up too much from here, so that's good. Like, definitely from this point on, the movie is much better. But that low, it's always stuck out to me, and it's always weird when people put this movie on a pedestal to defend it as like a 5-star classic. Because if you watch it now, there's just a lot of flaws in there, not just the pacing, but even in the acting.
Yeah, 100%. And you've got Nancy Loomis's dramatic death face at the window.
Again, why try acting good now?
I'm near certain that I see something about this scene that you hear her screaming and it sounds the same twice. It's because they used the same take but different angles. They're being strangled. I'm near certain. I can't be 100% sure. If you watch it again, you hear the same kind of scream, and it's just the same shot but from different angles, just to draw it out a bit longer.
Interesting.
I think the do that, John. And then you hear the car horn ringing out, but nobody can really hear it because it's the back of the house.
Back of the house, and it doesn't seem like there's anyone in this neighborhood right now.
There's nobody about the place. I mean, it's dead.
It's dead, and it's more noticeable when Bob and his girl get there.
Yeah, I mean, I took a dog out for a walk last night just after 7 o'clock, and it was dark, and the streets were like this. There was barely anybody about, which is great.
When I go on my walk with the dogs in the morning, I usually go like 6 in the morning, and it's dark out like this too. And it's honestly, it's my favorite time of the day. I wish the world was like this all day, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, but Halloween night,
no,
it's not going to be like this.
There should be kids everywhere.
Yeah, and do you know the best about it is that, what was the time thing? Because you always kind of feel as if, I like taking these movies in isolation because once you start going down the road of sequels and then they change the mythos and all this, but the second movie to me always felt like it picked up at 12 p.m. or 12 midnight.
AM.
But 12 midnight. But it's not because they mentioned the time at the start of that movie. It's like 10 p.m. at night. So these killings are happening in around 8:30, 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So, like you say, there should be I don't know, we have fireworks displays. There's fireworks going off to 9, 10 at night.
I mean, it's just that the kids, I feel like at any age group, okay, maybe the young kids around 9 o'clock, but then you still got the teenagers, and this is the 70s, so they have even less of a leash on them.
Yeah.
They're out till midnight, and they're in the streets, and there would be cars. This just feels like an abandoned neighborhood with nice houses in it.
Yeah. Totally, there's nobody around. It's like that movie. What do you call it? I Am Legend was based on. What do you call that one? The original one?
Oh, the original one with Vincent Price?
Well, there's one, Omega Man, where he wakes up and there's nobody left in the world.
Yeah.
And there's not even an adult about the place. Not one adult.
Nope. No,
Nobody
which became a trope of the slashers as well, is that there was no adults around. I remember when It Follows came out, they purposely did that as an homage to Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a joke that all the adults are at some Halloween party somewhere.
Well, I think if you think of Halloween 2, like we talked about, they're all at the hospital right now. And then eventually they start hitting the streets, and then that's why the hospital's emptying too.
Yeah, we can cover that at some stage.
I like to, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, though I like to as well. When I finish one, I want to watch two.
Yeah.
It's a great continuation. I remember I should save this for if we do Halloween 2, but I remember the first time I watched Halloween 2. What I said at the start of the pod, I was kind of like a bit of a snob in relation to sequels, and it was and by this stage when it got to around Halloween time, I always like to watch a scary movie and one I hadn't seen before. And it was the chemist in Belfast City Centre. They used to sell DVDs, and I was passing around Halloween. I don't know if it was Halloween Day. I was working in the town, and they were selling Halloween 2 on DVD for £1.
It's not bad.
Amazing. So I was like, I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to watch it tonight. So I went in and I bought it, and that night I put it on, and I absolutely loved it.
See, that's why you gotta try it yourself.
Yeah,
I think the Halloween 2 theme, the actual song, is better than 1.
Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, and I love that opening scene, and the whole thing is as well, Paul. Paul, what am I calling you? Oh, Paul.
You got Paul on your mind too. That's the problem.
Paul. I know. I think about to John as well. It was that I was actually, because I knew nothing about the sequels, so I kind of was so surprised when it just picked up right where the first one left off, because I liked the first one. It's a classic, and I was like, oh, it's just picking up directly where the first one ends. And so I was quite surprised by that, and then I was even more, no pun intended, pleasantly surprised that it was quite good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoy it. I mean, right away you notice if you watch them back to back, wow, the grass grew really fast between movies.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he fires 7 shots instead of 6, and
shot him 6 times.
I shot him 6 times. You don't know what death is. But the thing was about it too as well was that it felt like, even though it was filmed a few years later, it felt like the same night.
It does. They actually did a really good job of making it feel like one continuous film. the tone changes a little bit, obviously, and there's a reason why one's considered better than two. But I really enjoyed two.
Yeah. Funny, when I was talking to my mum, I said there, because she says she wouldn't know how she would feel about Halloween now. This 50 years, nearly 50 years down the lane. Would it be dated? But she's seen worse things. Would you look back and go, don't know why I was scared at that? And I says, well, I says, it's on BBC iPlayer. I says, if you want to watch it. And she was on Halloween night, and she was like, no. And then she was like, I've never seen any of the sequels either. And I went, Halloween 2 is good. It's big. So we should give Halloween 2 a watch. So, but I don't think she's going to do it.
I don't think so.
No. Neither do I. So Lindsay and Tommy are watching TV when Tommy decides to scare her by hiding behind the curtain when he sees Myers carrying Annie's body around the Wallace house, up the front steps, and in through the front door. Now, this is a really creepy shot.
Yeah, this is very petrifying. And think about it from their angle, from his angle.
Yeah. And I don't think, see, the first time I seen this movie, John, the first time I watched it, these scenes didn't creep me out. It was more on rewatches when I watched them again and started thinking about it, about how creepy that is as he's carrying her. He's just killed her and carrying her dead body just willingly round to the front of the house and in through the front door. And this child witnessing that. When you watch it closely, because it's from a distance, you are basically seeing it through his eyes. You are kind of like it's like voyeurism, right? And you're kind of watching and like a Rear Window type of thing. If you look at the influences, Hitchcock influenced Rear Window on Halloween as well, where he's watching through the window and seeing this happen and telling Laurie, and she doesn't believe him. That's all Rear Window. But when you watch that from a distance of Annie's lifeless flop body flapping as he's just carrying her right up the steps in through the front door, it's horrifying.
It is. It's petrifying. I love it. And the choice to actually do it from a distance is why I love it.
Yes, yeah. And that's why I just came to me where it's like Rear Window.
Yeah, it is like Rear Window.
So Tommy, because Lindsay gets up to look for Tommy, and then they bump into each other because he's behind the curtain. They start screaming and freaking out, and he says, the boogeyman's outside, but Laurie, as I said, tells him to stop this. He's scaring Lindsay, and if he doesn't stop, they're going to turn the TV off and send him to bed. So that's good parenting.
Yeah, it is, because honestly, that's probably the more likely scenario if you're Jamie Lee Curtis at this point. Like, come on, like, you've watched too many scary movies, you're reading the comics, at your age. Like, okay, you've seen, let's wrap it up. The night's been long.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what? That's one thing I have to say that they really got right about this movie is like, I know she's only babysitting, but see, when you have kids there and it's like, you have to keep them entertained, and especially on a holiday like this. And it's kind of like, look, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And they're like, well, that's what we're going to do. And I love that in the movie where Tommy's like, come and do the pumpkin now. She's like, just watch a movie.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what about the popcorn after the pumpkin? You know what I mean? And that's what it's like. It's like delayed tactics. It's like, look, just space it out over the night and we'll do the movie first, because she probably wants a break. She's like, look, I might just sit down for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm carving pumpkin. And that's what I love as well. Like, let's do the pumpkin. And then when Annie calls over, who's doing the pumpkin? She's doing the pumpkin. The kids are in the living room. They're not even helping. That's always what happens. Can we do something together? Yeah. You started together, in 5 minutes they're way off doing something else, and you're the one that ends up doing it. That's always the way with kids, John. And so she is at the end of her tether here. It's kind of like, listen, you know what? Behave now. Watch the movie. As you said, you've had enough tonight, or I'm going to put you to bed. And it's also, I don't know if your parents used to tell you this as well, John. It's like, if you eat anything too late at night, it'll give you nightmares.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even true, but it's just kind of like, listen, you probably ate so much crap already, or your parents don't want to go in and start making you a sandwich at 10 o'clock at night.
I mean, my father told me so many things. I'm still deciphering if they were true or not as I've gotten older. Like, there's certain things that I thought were laws that weren't laws, because he would do it like, just to shut me up or make me not doing something. Like, for example, I'm sure a lot of kids had this, like, you turning a light on inside of a car while it's driving. I thought that was an actual law. Like, you're not supposed to do that. It's not a law. That's not real at all.
But we
just want to make sure that we didn't do that.
Funny, we were talking about this the other week, or in work, because they had an ice cream van come in and give everybody free ice cream. Yeah. So we were talking about that, and we're talking about the old ice creams you used to get. I don't know what it's like in America. We used to have things called a screwball. Not the drink. It was an ice cream, right? And it was like in a cone, and you got bubble gum in the bottom of it, and they put the ice cream on top.
Oh, we
So
had that.
you would eat down to the bubble gum. Yeah. We used to go to the ice cream van and torture the ice cream man to give us 2 bubble gums, mister. Give us 2. And he gave you 2, you'd be like, oh, it's amazing. But you're saying about what parents used to say. Now the ice cream vans come around, they play music to let you know they're in the street. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my parents used to tell us that when the music was playing, they've run out of ice cream.
Oh, yeah. So you stop asking. Smart.
Yeah. But I don't think we ever fell for it.
Nah, but that's what parents had to do at the time. And my dad would just do things like that to mess with us anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which,
The best ways. And then
parents have the right.
Yeah. And as a naive kid, you always kind of fell for it. You never questioned it until you were a wee bit older. You went, hold on a minute. That doesn't make sense.
No, because at that time, that's where you get all the information from is your parents. So you just take their word on things.
Yep. Exactly.
Or adults in general, like in this case, so like if she says something, that's the word, that's the law.
Yeah. So back at the Myers house, Loomis watches from outside. Some kids come along. It's the kids from the school that were bullying Tommy, I think. And they're daring each other to go into the house, and Loomis scares them. Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there. And they run off, and Loomis is queerly happy with himself. He's with his wee.
Yeah, he's got a big smile on his face, like I scared the kids.
And the next thing is, but Brackett sneaks up on him and scares him. He's like,
I know, has a heart attack.
And this is where he says about fancy talk. Fancy talk isn't going to keep me out here all night. And that's when he says to him, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night, inhumanely patient, waiting for some secret sound alarm to trigger him off. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. Now you can either ignore it or you can help me stop it. And he says, more fancy talk.
And at this point, his daughter's dead and he doesn't even know yet.
He doesn't even know it yet, exactly, which is the horrifying thing. And I like how you follow up on that in the second one. But he tells Loomis Haddonfield's families and children, and they're all lined up are they all lined up for a slaughterhouse? And Loomis says, they could be. And Brackett says, all right, I'll stay tonight, just on the off chance that you're right. And if you are right, damn you for letting him go. So
he did his best. I really believe that.
I wrote here, Loomis is constantly getting the blame.
He's the only one who literally tried to stop this.
Yeah, and he completely gets the blame. I always remember the scene in the second movie when Brackett has to identify Annie's body.
Yeah.
And he turns to Loomis and goes, "You let him out."
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, it wasn't me. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell them.
He did. That's the thing. He's 100% right about that. Like, you cannot say that this guy didn't try and raise alarms. People thought he was crazy about this.
Yeah. And you're right. He did. He tried to raise the alarm. So then he turns and he goes back to staring at the house. He's fixing. It's getting cool. Starting to shiver. It's getting cold. So Linda pulls up with Bob in his van. She's discussing the plan that they've been planning all week.
Mm-hmm. All
Annie
this just to have sex in this house.
Yep, the things you do when you're young. And the master plan is Annie will distract Lindsay while they go up to the first bedroom on the left. Got it? And he says, got it. Now, this line is fucking weird.
Yes, I know exactly what you're going to say.
I do not know what this means or why it's in the movie. And has anybody ever questioned it? It's a bit odd for the listeners. I'm sure you know what's coming if you're familiar with Halloween. Bob says, I got it. First I rip your clothes off. Then you rip my clothes off. Then we rip Lindsay's clothes off. What? Is she not like 9 years of age? 8 years of age?
Yeah, exactly. I'm guessing that I've always kind of just written it off as like the innocence of it, like in a non-sexual way, but it doesn't make sense either way. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to guess that's why it's supposed to be meant something innocent, or else why would it be in there? So obviously, like, I don't know.
I can't make any sense of it, John. I was trying to make sense of it, but I was making my notes and I thought, was he meant to say Annie?
Maybe, but either way, or like you could fix that
In ADR?
Yeah.
Mm,
You still put it in the movie. Like you
mm.
didn't cut it.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're not supposed to question it. I don't
It's
know.
pretty odd. Anyway, and especially like, do you imagine being with a girl and saying that, but to her?
Yeah,
Do you
and
not think the girl would be like, "What are you talking
well,
about?"
well, she didn't. She
And
kept
she
laughing
didn't.
along.
And people could say, "Oh, it was the 70s." It's not the point.
I I guess that's what we write anything off as now, right? It's the 70s.
It's different back then.
Yeah.
Times were different. Anyway, so they go inside the place and it's in darkness, and she says it's totally dark, and they start making out on the sofa while Michael appears and he's watching again.
He's
This must be railing him up. He doesn't like this.
Oh, he's mad.
Oh, he's angry. Doesn't like this type of stuff. Cut back to the Doyle house, and the pumpkin is finished. And the phone goes, and it's Linda inquiring where Annie is. She tells her Annie went to collect Paul, and Lindsay is with her. So Laurie says, "Have a good time," and Linda says, "We definitely will." So Lindsay is gone for the night. So that's the green light for them.
They're good. Now they can just have as much fun as they want.
Yep. So now we have our obligatory sex scene.
Mhm.
Another 1 minute wonder, John.
Yeah, of course. All these sex scenes are just in and out. They wait all week for 30 seconds.
Yeah, that anticipation, you know.
I guess, you know what? It's all about the build-up, not really about the actual moment.
Yeah, it must be. It must be. He lasted a wee bit longer than the guy at the start, I think.
Well, yeah, guy at the start, if you clock him, I don't think from the time he gets dressed, undressed, laid, out the door, 45 seconds. Incredible.
As I told you, it's still longer than me.
Hey, you know what? It's not about the actual time. It's what you make of it.
So we see Michael's shadow on the wall. So we do. And Linda thinks old Bob is fantastic. She's like, "Oh, fantastic."
I mean,
Really?
I'm sure. I don't think she'll look back on that and say the same thing in 20. Well, she won't actually. But you know what? If she would have lived,
She would have lived. Yeah, she would have
Yeah.
realized what fantastic was maybe at some stage in her life, because that's not fantastic. But oh well, easily pleased.
Yep. I mean, it's the best she'll get.
Yep. But she asks him, does he want a beer? And then sends him to go get it. And he says, "I'll be right back."
Big mistake.
Big
as we know.
mistake. Don't get dressed.
Mm-hmm.
And we go into Bob's death scene.
Yep.
So he's in the kitchen. The door opens. He thinks it's Annie or Paul. Then Linda, he thinks, is messing him about when Michael strikes. Is this the best kill in the movie?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's the most shocking too because he kind of pushes through, and the way he the strength of him to pin him up on the wall like that, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the supernatural part of Michael coming out
Yeah.
there, what you see. I think it's the best kill in the movie. I love again how this is shot in the kitchen, and it's not kind of unrealistic because we do get this stage in the movie where I think to myself, does nobody switch any lights on anymore? You know?
Yeah, everything's dark everywhere.
Yes, but I can understand if you're maybe in a strange house and you go down to get water or a beer. Sorry, you go down to get a beer and you're not familiar where the lights are, and you just go straight to the fridge and say, "I'll grab this and go back." Do you know what I mean? I can understand that. So I love how it's shot. I love how it looks, and as you say, it just shows you the strength of Michael that he's able to lift this guy who looks bigger than him up against the wall and slam that knife into him. Of course, I don't think that would work.
I think he would I think his body the weight would still push the knife down. It's a kitchen knife. I would think so. But I don't know. It's a cool shot, especially since they linger on him for a while looking at it.
Yeah, and then they have that brilliant shot of him just doing the head tilt.
Mm-hmm. Like admiring his work.
Yeah, looking at the body. And that's became synonymous with Michael Myers now doing the head tilt. It's very creepy. And I always think in my mind, it's almost like Michael Myers doesn't understand, even though he's like this killing machine, but he doesn't understand what death is. Like Loomis says, the Sagamon, you don't know what death is. So they have this thing in front of you that's moving and talking. Oh, I've stuck this knife in it. Now it's stabbed. What's happened to it?
He was a 6-year-old child when he went to prison. He doesn't comprehend it. We don't really know exactly what he is.
Yeah. It's almost like he's been taken over by something, though. I mean, if he was
Mhm.
a normal child up until that night,
I guess that's how you would probably think about it because, yeah, he probably got, if we look maybe possessed by something, like, and the fact that after he did that, he never spoke or did anything, just sat there emotionless this whole time, and now
yeah,
he's walking around like, what is that? What's causing that? So yeah, I guess that's how we're supposed to look at it.
yeah, because Loomis says he hasn't spoken 15 years, so he's 21 now, so 15 years from 1963. So it's almost like he must have been a normal child up until whatever happened, something happened to him, or something took over his body, or something. But I always kind of look at that as if he's thinking, oh, why is this guy not moving anymore? Even though he's killed Annie and she's not moving. It's almost like he's playing a game here, with just hiding the bodies and stuff. There's no real logic behind it, really.
No, exactly. Like a childlike kind of thing, hiding the bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cut to Linda in bed, failing her nails when the bedroom door creaks open. And there's Marge cloaked in a bed sheet with Bob's glasses on. And she thinks it's Bob. See
Mm-hmm.
anything you like?
Mm-hmm. Shows her tits.
Yeah, obligatory tit shot. And so watching this, so this is another one, John, I wrote down here. Watching this again, it reminds me of of the scene in Scream where Tatum's in the garage and she doesn't realize that's the real killer
Yep,
standing in
exactly,
front of
just
her.
like that.
And she's making jokes. Like she's like, "How'd I get your ghost, Bob?" You know, totally unaware of the danger.
Yep. I like we did there.
What?
Totally unaware.
Oh, I
Totally.
didn't even realize. I didn't realize you said that.
Oh no.
No, no, I
Oh,
didn't realize. I am saying it
yeah.
totally.
It's
Yeah,
getting you.
it's
The
getting to
script's
me.
getting you.
Uh-huh. So she phones Laura to find out where Annie and Paul are. Marge creeps up and strangles her with the phone cord. So awful lot of phone calls in this film too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how they communicated back then.
That's true.
Yeah.
It probably seems a lot to me, but back then it probably wasn't.
No, I mean that's how they had to talk to each other. And at this point in the night, like they all have to talk to each other because of the kids they're watching and whose houses they're in. So they would have to communicate like this.
Yeah, yeah. It's just probably, as I say, we're so used to text messages or voice notes now. You know what I mean? I mean, very
Yeah,
rarely I phone someone unless I really want to talk to them. Whereas back then you had to phone people.
that was it. We
Yeah,
were forced in the conversation,
yeah, yeah. Laurie thinks it's Annie messing about, but then she becomes concerned.
as she should be.
She's a wee bit concerned about the noises coming off from the house. She looks out and sees like the light come on and off again. So she thinks something weird's going on over there. So she checks in the kids who are sleeping, and we cut to Loomis, and he spots the car across the street.
About
You know,
time.
Yeah, it was only up the street from him. Like
I
you
know.
never seen it. He was standing there for an hour,
He didn't walk. He just was waiting.
standing beside a bush, scaring kids, and the cars across the street.
Well, he's still. I mean, what the hell? Why? You think about what he was just doing. He didn't have a cell phone or anything like he does. We
Huh.
would now like to stand there. He was just standing there.
Yeah, well, he says, "I'll wait here. I'm gonna wait here for him." And the sheriff says, "All right, I'll come back in an hour." And so he was there for at least an hour, over an hour, because the sheriff came back to him and went,
Eh,
I'm still here.
eh.
So um yeah, so anyway, he spots the car, and so Laurie decides to cross the road to check in on Annie and Linda at the Wallace house. Now I love this long pan, John, that goes from the Doyles to the Wallaces, intercutting between Jamie Lee Curtis as she moves forward and approaches the house.
Yeah, this is very well done. I love this as well.
hmm But she gets there, nobody's answering the front door. So she checks the back, and the door is laying open. So she enters the house and thinks they are playing a practical joke on her.
Which, with those friends, you would think.
I love how when she's walking through the house, see, I had the subtitles on, you see, because for taking notes, and it's like, she hears a noise coming from upstairs and stuff. That's what it's came up saying. So if you watch it, it's something I haven't really noticed before, but if you watch it again, when she's you can hear noises coming from above her. She stops and she's looking up, and then your mind starts playing tricks. Well, that tricks you, but it starts, your imagination starts going. It's because I've seen the movie. I know where she goes to, so it's almost like you're thinking Mars is moving the bodies about.
Yeah, well, we know that he eventually does do that. So it's
Y-
pretty interesting. Like, but the first time, yeah, you're supposed to be like, "What's up there?"
Yeah. Um. So Laurie goes up the stairs, and again, brilliant tracking shot of her just going up them stairs, building on the tension and the suspense. And this is where I was wondering, like, does she not switch the lights on?
Yeah, you're right. Why wouldn't you? Like, especially at this point, you can't even see. But
Yeah.
then we don't have these beautiful shots. I do like actually how it's like there is no lights on. But if you think from a logic standpoint, you would turn the lights on.
Yeah, I mean, cinematography ways, it's beautiful. Look, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's amazing. These are the best parts of this movie. Is that kind of cinematography they have in these night shots? It really makes the movie for me.
Me too.
Yeah, but logically, you know your friends are supposed to be here with their boyfriends, and you think they're playing a joke. You would switch all the lights on.
Yeah,
and
they
go, right,
call
where
them
are
out.
you?
Yeah, but then it'd be so weird to see like Michael come running out in the bright light, and it would look like he'd look stupid.
True, that's true.
Yeah.
And I've got to remember this is artistic license. This
Exactly.
is a movie.
Yeah, we don't have one of those walking around yet.
She sees a light coming from the bedroom on the left. So Laurie approaches the room. Carpenter's building the tension all along. She opens the door to see Annie sprawled out in the bed, arms out, with Judith Mars' headstone above her. Now, one occasion when I watched this movie, John, that actually did creep me out. The thought of her lying on the bed with that headstone above her, which used to be in the graveyard, which is now lying above her, and she's lying with her eyes fixed and like her lifeless body and the pumpkin beside the bed. A beautiful looking shot, by the way.
A gorgeous shot.
Yeah, but that did creep me out one time.
I mean, it's a creepy shot. And honestly, it's one of my favorite shots and most memorable shots in the movie.
Yeah, and this has to be one of the best scenes. Laurie whimpers in shock and horror. She backs up, and Bob's lifeless body comes swinging down from inside a closet. She runs there. Yep, she runs to her right or left. Laurie screams. Another closet conveniently opens for some strange reason. It just opens.
Yeah, wow. We know why.
Yeah, and they reveal Linda lying dead. I like her death stare as well.
Yeah, that one's the best one, and that's the creepiest of them.
It is the creepiest of them. It is. That is the best one. And that's the thing. It's like what Wes Craven said about the kill of Kenny in Scream. He thought that rather than seeing the blood gushing out of his neck, watching his face after he gets sliced was the scarier part. And I find that's what's more scary about this is the death stares, the dead blank faces. That's the scary part about this rather than the actual killing, because there is no gore in it.
No, nothing. It's just that actually is more creepier, and it works. And again, the darkness being in here as well helps it.
Yeah. So Laurie screams and she runs out of the room of death.
Yeah.
Because I called it the room of death.
What a lovely room of death.
Yes, Ventura, I forgot about that.
Is there something wrong, Mr. Ventura? No, of course not. This is a lovely room of death.
That's what Ace Ventura would say if Michael Myers would say, is there something wrong, Mr. Ventura? So I wrote that and I can't even remember where I got it from. And right enough, that must be subconscious from Ace Ventura.
I mean, Ace Ventura subconsciously is in my mind at all times, unfortunately.
So Laurie runs to the corner in distress. This is where we see that iconic shot of Michael emerging from the darkness, John.
That is a classic shot.
Yeah, and how they actually done that was to put a dimmer light on the camera. So he was standing in the darkness, and they brought the light up very, very slowly to shine of where he was. So it looked like he was emerging from the shadows.
But he was in the same spot, actually?
Yeah, he was just standing there, and they just put that slowly, turned the light up, and then it looked as if he just appeared. John Carpenter says it was more, he asked for a shot where, when you run out in the dark, and it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the darkness, then you can see things. That's what it was supposed to be.
Oh, interesting. Hey, whatever it works. You know what? It worked.
It worked. It does. And he attempts to stab Laurie, but slices her arm, or shirt on her arm, and she falls over the banister of the stairs. So I love the music here. as Michael comes to the top of the stairs. This music here is like his aggressive, like hunting music.
Oh yeah, he's on the prowl right now. He's gonna get his prey.
Yeah, it's the music. It kind of goes down, 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 down.
Perfect. Just keys on the piano being played quickly.
So Laurie runs to the front door, but it's locked, so they can scream. And Michael's in pursuit. She runs to the kitchen, locks the door, struggles to open the back door as Michael smashes through the kitchen door. Does he smashes through that door with his arm and stuff? Always reminds me of Thriller, but Thriller came out a few years later.
Yeah, well, Thriller probably took from this.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and there's a great shot of him coming through the kitchen door. See when he just makes it through the way he looks, and she breaks the glass and escapes.
Yeah, well, yeah. At this point, it's not really not much dialogue. It's just him hunting.
It's just her going.
She's doing her best. It sounds like Free Willy when you do that.
Can't remember Free Willy. I haven't seen it in about 30 years.
I just watched it pretty recently, and that's what a whale sounds like when he's crying. He's like.
But that is what she does for the rest of this movie. She's like, anyway, so Laurie runs screaming for help. And no, she's actually screaming at this part for help, help, help. And the next door neighbor, geez, just ignores her. She runs up to the door, bang, help me, help me, help me. Lights come on. They must look out and go, oh, it's that Strode girl. Just switch them all lights off. Let's go back to bed.
I mean, that's pretty much what they did. I just assumed like maybe they thought it was trick-or-treaters and they're trying to like be like, hey, we're not doing trick-or-treaters at our house.
Yeah. But why switch the light on? Just don't switch it on.
No, I know. But I guess that's for us. I'm just trying to put some logic here. I don't even understand why they're asleep at this point anyway on Halloween night. Forget it.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's for us to think, oh, they're going to answer the door, and then they don't.
Yeah.
You know? That's exactly what it's for. It's for us. And so she runs to the Doyle house. But she can't find the front door keys. She wakes Tommy up by throwing a flower pot at her bedroom window. The poor flower pots in this film, John.
And they never stood a chance.
They're taking a beating. First Myers, now her.
Yep.
You see, Michael is moving his way towards the house. So Tommy lets Laurie in, and she tells him to get Lindsay and lock the bedroom door. Laurie locks the door, switches the light off, and picks up the phone. But it's dead. Then she realizes the window was open, curtain blowing in the wind, hear the breathing, and she crouches down beside the sofa. She's putting her hand on one of those big knitting needles, and then Michael jumps up behind her, takes a stab at her. Now, this is the thing about Myers. I know it's only a movie, but this is twice he's missed her.
I know. The first one was worse though than this one. The first one, I'm like, he had so much time to stab her, and he's like, he's killed some other people like in some creative ways. He had an open shot and he cuts the arm. This one was a little more forgivable, I thought.
But he was way off.
Yeah, that's why. The other one, like he hit the arm at least. This one, big swing at him.
This was straight into the sofa. It's like nowhere near.
Maybe the mask obstructed his vision on this one.
Maybe it did. Maybe it's getting hot in there. It's getting steamed up.
He's walking around a lot. He's sweating. It's hot. You know, it's already obstructing his vision. You know, there's probably something there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he misses anyway, and Laurie stabs him in the neck with a knitting needle. He kind of backs off into the curtains.
Like he doesn't know that. Yeah, he's confused by this.
But as soon as he pulls it out, it's like somebody pulling like something out of something and just collapsing. You know, he pulls it out and he just drops to the floor.
Yeah,
like a sack of shit.
I think that's because they didn't have money to show us the blood shooting out like it should, so he just falls.
Yeah, and I think there's a big stinger here. Like
yeah.
Well, Laurie takes the knife and peeks at Michael over the sofa. And she drops the knife and sits for a moment. Now I know that her character's been criticized for always dropping the knife.
But that's intentional.
Of course, yeah. And I think also as well, she may be criticized for always dropping the knife, but I just feel as if it's not their nature to run about with a knife, you know, to defend herself. She's just kind of, it's a lot of, like I said, a lot of her kind of fighting back is reactionary. She never ever really goes on the offensive. It's always the defensive.
But why would she? Would she like 17 years old? She's a 17-year-old girl. This isn't like a 35-year-old trained woman to do this kind of things. She's a freaking child, you know? So I wouldn't expect her to be like, I never actually really thought too much into that. I always just thought, yeah, well, she's not really a strong woman. She's actually doing pretty well for somebody. Like the rest of them died.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a criticism that apparently the audience was shouting, why is she dropping the knife? But
they need to experience this themselves. That's it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I laugh at that, and that's the whole play on Scream, isn't it? Where she says, "Oh, well, what's them? They're dumb," and then she does the exact same thing because you're not in their situation. But it makes
they
me
don't understand the human factor of like fight or flight, or like the panic that people feel and the stupidity of that kind of moment, just because your mind's not working, because it's not, your heart's racing, like you said, like you're scared.
Yeah, exactly, and you're probably running on adrenaline rather than thinking straight. Get split second to make decisions, which makes me think about the start of Scream. Did Kevin Williamson intentionally make Drew Barrymore pull the knife out?
Probably.
Yeah, because
he says how much of a fan he is. I'm sure that was, and the amount of homages that we've talked about, I'm sure.
Yeah, because people criticized her for always throwing the knife away, whereas he was like, well, no, what I'll do, I'll make sure she picks the knife up. But but it proves that it didn't help her in the end.
Nope, it didn't. Not
so. Meanwhile, Loomis is not my movie. Yeah. Meanwhile, Loomis prowls the empty streets. Brackett pulls up, and Loomis tells him he's found the car. He's here. He tells Brackett to go round the back of the houses. He'll watch the front. Come on! Loomis is suddenly in charge of the Haddonfield police now.
Yep, that's it. Well, he's the only one who knows them.
Yeah. He's ordering the sheriff about now. So back at the Doyles, a wounded Laurie climbs the stairs. She calls Tommy and Lindsay to come out. They're going to take a walk. Tommy asks, "Was it the boogeyman?" And Lindsay says, "I'm scared." And Laurie says, "There's nothing to be scared of. I killed him." And I love this shot, the way the camera is, and you see just something moving in the background. Tommy says, "You can't kill the boogeyman." And the way he kind of looks around. And they scream, and then you see him standing there with a knife.
Yep.
An amazing looking shot.
Oh, incredible.
And then you hear that the music starts, and Laurie puts him, I think it's must be like an ensuite, like a bathroom off the bedroom, locks him in. It must be, you can't see what it is, but it's inside the bedroom.
Yeah, probably just a bathroom off the, from where that is. That makes the most sense.
Yeah. Tells him to lock the door, and she opens the balcony doors, just throwing Michael off the scent. Then she hides in the closet. She ties the handles, but he comes in and he's not fooled. He starts to break through. But first of all, you see an awful lot of shaking. Not a shaking of the closet, just shaking.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just picture him outside doing that. What's he trying to do? That's just for us, though.
Yeah. And she's there going, and eventually he breaks through. He can punch through an actual door, and he's having trouble with this. Anyway, and the ever-resourceful Laurie takes a metal coat hanger, and stabs him in the eye this time. And then he drops the knife, and she lifts the knife, and straight up, looks like it's in through the heart. And again, he falls, you hear the thud. And you think that's it. And because it's right through the chest. And right. Laurie... Yeah, so Laurie comes out and tells Tommy and Lindsay, go down the street to the Mackenzie's house and tell them to call the police.
That's what you were talking about last week with Scream.
Yep, and I think the dad says as well, tell them to call the police. I think he puts that whole line in.
Yeah, he does say tell them to call the police.
That's right. I just thought it was the first part, but it's not. It's the full thing.
No, and you're absolutely right.
Now, here's a question, John. Why didn't she go with him?
I don't know why. I think it's her instinct to protect the kids and throw him to, if he's still alive, to only follow her. I think that's what we're supposed to believe, that she's the hero. Like the kids, I'll protect you.
Yeah, if I stay here, I can watch what he's doing. And you just go down and call the police. Maybe thinking that he's dead.
Yeah, I'll just watch the body, but on the off chance he isn't, he'll come after me and not go after you guys.
Yeah. Or he's wounded, I might be able to finish him off.
Yeah.
Although again, she drops the knife, and that's what people were shouting about. When she comes out of the closet, she throws it down, I think. So Laurie sits Then we see that iconic shot of Michael sitting up.
The Undertaker sit up.
I wrote exactly the same thing, like the Undertaker, but it's very vampire-esque or zombie-like. Like when they sit up out of the coffin. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think probably Dracula's the first one, if I had to guess.
Yeah, the undead. You see.
Yeah, exactly. They're not dead. They're not human. They're coming back to life.
Yeah, they're the undead. You know, you can't kill them. You can't kill them as your man says. Is it Wayne's World 2? The old rocker says about Keith Richards can't be killed by conventional weapons.
Yeah, you know what? That was a joke in 1992, I believe, or 1993. He's still alive, Keith Richards.
That's right. That's why Keith Richards can't be killed by conventional weapons.
Fucking Diane Keaton died before Keith Richards. It's unbelievable. I don't think he'll die.
No, he'll live forever, man. But just Myers can't be killed by conventional weapons either, by the looks of things. So we cut to Tommy and Lindsay running out of the house, screaming. Loomis sees this, just happens to be passing, conveniently enough.
Fortunate, very fortunate. I mean, it's not like he's gonna go. This is his first walk in hours, anyway.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah. So as Laurie stands, you see Michael raising behind her. See that raise? That reminds me of is it the Alien and Aliens a year later? I think it stands up like that in the scene where it kills. Is it Brett?
You might be right.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that scene. It's one scene, one of the scenes anyway. Yeah. So he raises behind her and he slowly makes his way up behind her. Very, very creepy shot where she's standing there just unaware that he's kind of slowly making his way towards her. Again, very zombie-like. And then he starts to strangle her as Loomis comes up the stairs. She pulls his mask up, which enables us enables her to break free. And Loomis time to get a shot off. And we see the adult Michael Myers briefly, played by a man called Tony Moran.
Handsome fella.
Well, Nick Castle said in the making of. Did you see what he said? He said, I don't know why they didn't ask me to do that scene. He says, I suppose they didn't want a handsome guy to play him. I'll let you be the judge of that.
I think they made the right call. I think he's a better looking guy than Nick Castle. No offense, Nick, but this guy looks like, the prom king.
Even with the eye?
Even with the eye. On a scale of 1 to me, I would say he's closer to me than Nick Castle.
Fair enough. So Loomis shoots him 5 more times, and Michael falls off the balcony. Doing like a wee dance. Is that what he's doing?
It does look like that if you set him to some music.
I'll give it a get. And yeah, we see him. Then you hear that stinner, and you see him laying on the ground below. And Laurie looks at Loomis and says the famous line, "It was the boogeyman." And I love how Loomis kind of turns and he's like, "As a matter of fact, it was."
That's what he is.
Loomis looks over the balcony and he's gone. And the Halloween theme starts. And Loomis looks staring, then looks out into the night.
It's so perfect. The ending to this movie is perfect because then, we get the breathing of the mask and everything.
Well, Laurie sobs in the background.
She's very sad here.
Yeah. And you're saying about it being a perfect ending. I don't know, as I say, if you watched the same thing I watched, but apparently Pleasance said to Carpenter, I can play this 2 ways. And Carpenter says he was in awe of Pleasance. He says the first time he met him, he was really scared of him. He was afraid to meet him because this is like Donald Pleasance because he was a big name, a bit of big star, I suppose. But he says they became really good friends many years later.
The same thing.
The same thing. But he basically says when Pleasance said, I can play it 2 ways, he just went, oh really? Which way? And he said, well, I can play it, oh my God, he's gone. Or I knew this would happen. And Carpenter just didn't have the heart to say which one. He didn't know which one to pick. So he just says, can you do both? And Pleasance went, yeah. And the one you see in the movie is, I knew this would happen. But I like at first he's wide-eyed, but then when it cuts to Laura and cuts back, I like kind of the look into the night sky, you know.
Yeah, like nah, he's different, and this chase is not over.
Yep, I knew he was evil.
Yep, exactly. I was right, and it's
Yeah,
not over.
it's not over, and then it shows you the landing, the
Mhm.
living room. So the knife is lying in the living room. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he brought the knife with him up the stairs.
So did I, but I don't. Also, I'm not 100% sure.
Now, either that or he went and got a different knife from the kitchen before he came up the stairs.
That's also very true. Every house has one. Didn't he bring one with him, or someone did?
Oh, he brought that several knives. He had several knives, didn't he?
Yeah. So
Maybe he had
you could,
another one on him.
yeah, you could argue because there was definitely knives being dropped and stuff. So maybe we're not supposed to think too much into that.
Yeah, to me, I think it's a mistake, a continuity mistake. But
Could be. Now that they made a few, so and again, they're aware this is not a perfectly structured film.
they did because Deborah Hill says this ending scene was not in the script. This montage at the end. So basically, as I say, you see, you hear the heavy breathing. You see the hall, the stairs, outside of the house. All three houses, finishing with the Myers house, which is the house we opened on.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good bookend, because I really like that. Never really noticed before until I was watching it again the other night for the pod, John. And then it cuts to black. Halloween comes up, and then the titles. And John Carpenter actually says this ending scene is just to tell the audience that he's not only gone, he's everywhere. So they don't really give an explanation.
I like that actually. I love that's why I like it. I like having you can hear the mask and you can hear the breathing, and we're cutting to all the places he's already been, and he could be anywhere. I love that.
Yeah. And that's probably what creeped my mum out at the end when it was like, oh shit,
He could be here.
he's dead. Or sorry, he's not dead. He could be, yeah. So as I say, just to kind of like finish up on the actual movie. It was released town by town, city by city, and its success was mainly due to word of mouth. It ran for 3 months and eventually grew $70 million worldwide, making Halloween the most profitable independent film ever to that point.
Yeah, it's an incredible feat. I think everyone who made their investment in that movie probably was like, yeah. And you would think John Carpenter would have this incredible career with something like that. Like this would be his Jaws. And it really went a different way.
It did. I mean, I talk about Carpenter. I do like his first like 8 movies or something. I really like them, some more than others. But I always feel as if his movies are more like a Tales from the Crypt episode.
They're genre films 100% through.
Yeah, and I know that basically he part of the conception for Halloween was that he wanted to make it like, that's why he always said there should never be a sequel. It's a one and done movie. It's all self-contained, and that's why he had a hard time writing a sequel. He didn't want to do it. He was kind of forced into it, and he doesn't. I know that he's really doesn't like the sequel, and because he wanted to be like a Twilight Zone episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all his movies are like that. All his
They
movies
are
just, they're very, to me, John, cartoonish.
Which is kind of a reason why I've always kind of enjoyed a lot of his movies, but some more than others. Like I don't think he's a perfect director. Like in the really from after when did They Live come out? What was that? 87?
86? 88? It's either 88 or maybe about 88. Yeah, 88.
Yeah, because he did Prince of Darkness, that, and like there really isn't much other than In the Mouth of Madness that I would say is even really good in the 90s. Like that's really it. Like so it's tough because and then he stopped with The Ward in like 2005, and that movie's terrible. So like it's tough because everything he does in the 80s, except I'm not really the world's biggest Big Trouble in Little China fan. I know people love that movie.
No, I really like that movie.
I know a lot of I'm like that's not a rewatchable for me.
Yeah. No, I love Assault on Precinct 13 is good.
Great.
But like if it is, it's good. And then you go to if I go Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween is great. Then you've got The Fog, and then you have Escape from New York, which is brilliant. And then you've got after that, what have you got after that, John?
The Thing.
You've got The Thing, again, another brilliant movie. Some people say that's his best.
I'd say
it's always up there. Like Halloween, The Thing's always up there, nearly neck and neck. And then you have after that, I think, is it Big Trouble in Little China, which I really like, and then I think is a Prince of Darkness, and then They Live.
Yep.
Prince of Darkness was all right. It was okay. Probably my least favorite out of all them. But I love They Live
Me
because
too.
see the first night I watched that, I didn't know one thing about it. I didn't know what it was about. And when I put it on, and then they put them on, and there were aliens, my mind was blown. I was like, what the hell? And I think a lot of the messaging throughout the movie is more relevant now than what it's ever been.
Oh, 100%. That movie. That's why Faith likes that movie so much, is because of the message of the movie. It's still very
Yeah.
relevant today. It's like, but that just shows how we don't learn. That's all
Yeah.
that tells me, is we don't
But
ever listen.
well, it just shows, John, how much we haven't really moved on, have we?
No, as a society, we really haven't. But that's also like kind of like what attracts me to John Carpenter too, is exactly like what you said. No other filmmaker like does that. Like just fully commits to like doing these kinds of unconventional kinds of films, you would say. Like and makes that his entire career. Like and then he composes the score to them. He never
Yeah.
really tried to like go to like what the normal Hollywood films were. It never really interested him. And I like that about him. He never really tried to be the big shot in Hollywood.
Sorry, Christine was another one he done.
Oh yeah, we forgot about Christine. Oh, I love Christine too.
Yeah, like I enjoy Christine, but I can't take it serious.
Well, how could you? It's a killer car.
Yeah, that's why when people say it's so amazing, I go, really? It's a killer car. I mean, it's well made.
That's
but
what
it's
I love
really
that
insane.
score, man. I love that score.
Yeah.
That opening scene with Bad to the Bone.
Yeah. I think look, there was a documentary. I mean, I think it might be on. Is it The Big Trouble in Little China Blu-ray? And it was about basically how Carpenter ended up becoming really disillusioned with the studio system.
Yeah,
And-
that's the one that really
that's
turned him
why
off.
he bowed out, because when you think about it, like he was getting criticized for doing movies like Christine, and I think he only done Christine because he needed a hit, and it was a Stephen King novel. But he went on to do things like he done Christine because The Thing was a flop,
Mhm.
you know.
Which
And then
is
by the
crazy.
time, and by the time he got to do Big Trouble in Little China, which he put his heart and soul into, the studio didn't get it, and then they didn't advertise it the way he wanted them because they couldn't understand that Jack Burton wasn't the hero. They wanted Jack Burton to be like an Indiana Jones type character, and he was going, no, but that's not the point of the movie. And
Yeah.
then they went, well, we don't get it. So they didn't advertise it the way he wanted them to. Because by that stage in the mid-'80s, everybody knew from Jaws, you had to do an awful lot of advertising to have a big hit. You know what I mean? So he became totally disillusioned. But I know we've got to wrap this up, mate. My final thoughts on Halloween is just basically that, look, it's not my most favorite horror movie of all time. I think if you're a horror fan, it's essential. I think that it's a well-made movie. I think it's really well directed. But I don't particularly enjoy the dialogue. And I think there is, as you say, a big long lull in the middle of it, which is can get a bit tedious. But the highlights for me is the atmosphere, the mood, the cinematography, his direction, and the music. That's the big pluses for me in this film. So it's kind of like a 50-50 for me. There's a load of pros and there's a load of cons for me.
I actually echo pretty much the exact same sentiment that you just said about the movie. For me, the movie starts off 3 great scenes. The opening credits, the first tracking shot of young Michael, then the scene when we first get introduced to the Donald Pleasance character and them driving to the mental institution in the rain, all that. But then unfortunately you hit that mid film low for a good amount of time. I think you said about 40 to 50 minutes before we get another kill. But then from that point on, the movie truly picks up and becomes a horror classic. I can see why people truly love this movie. But I can't put it up there as one of my all-time favorites because that low in the middle really does drag it down. And even though the atmosphere is great, the score is great, I think that better films have come along that have taken this formula and taken advantage of it and made it better. But I could still pay respects to what the original one started.
Yeah, and I like the simplicity of the story as well. I think that also helps it too. After watching Scream a few weeks ago, I would love to I don't know, I'd love to sit down maybe and do like the top 10 horror movies or something. I don't know if I could squeeze Halloween in there now. I always have it in my mind, it has to be in there.
That's
But I
always
mean,
what it is. You almost feel the pressure of like as being a film fan. Like you got to. I think as you get older, you start to get away from that like pretentious. Like I have to have these kinds
yeah.
of movies on my list and go back to like these are my favorite films. And this one just even though it's considered an all timer, it's not an all timer for me.
Yeah, I know, and because I start thinking about movies that I truly love, like I love The Exorcist, and I love obviously I mentioned Psycho, and watching Scream again a few weeks ago, I was like, this is such a great movie. I
Yeah,
can not maybe put it in my top 10, and then I love movies like some of the other ones that people never think of when they're talking about their top 10 horrors. The Fly, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the remake, the 1978 one. That's one of my favorite horrors of all time. So if I look at that and I go, I gotta weigh things up,
yeah. It's got to be like I mean for me like The Ring from 2002. That's an all timer for me. That'd be in my top 10. Not a lot of people would say that, but I love that movie.
Yeah, and then I'm a big fan of Elm Street as well, so
Yeah, that's in my top 10. But
that's
that's a
my
big
top 10.
one.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people love that as well, but it's pretty hard sometimes when I'm doing a top 10 horror to go like, oh, how can I leave Psycho 2 out? And I say, well, I've already got Psycho 1, I can't pick the sequel, because I'm a fan of
Yeah, but
certain
that's what you
sequels
like.
are
That's
so good.
it's tough. It gets like that. It's like that honestly with Jason Lives. Like a lot of people don't like I know you like the earlier ones more, but for me, Jason Lives is a great horror film. It just checks a lot of personal boxes for me, and that's why I always love it.
Yeah, well, one thing about the Friday the 13th, John, is that I think if you're a fan of that series, there's a lot of people don't pick the original as their favorite.
No, I can't.
Yeah, and listen, I don't think you're wrong there either, because I think that there's many reasons why the original, a lot of people don't like the original. I get it.
I understand. Well, David, this was a good long conversation on Halloween, but we're moving out of spooky season and we're going into just the later fall. Why don't you tell the good folks what we're going to be doing next?
Yes. So we're going to move from Haddonfield to Hill Valley, and we're going to go. Is it forward in time or back in time? It's back in time now, isn't it? The
Uh
2015.
well, yeah, now technically, yeah, they don't ever go past that. So we're going further in the future for them, but back in time for us.
Yeah, in Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been dying to watch. I'm gonna have to rewatch Back to the Future 1 and then 2 again, though.
Well, I believe that the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future is in cinemas today, Halloween Day.
That's true. So if you're not listening to us, hopefully you're watching Back to the Future in theaters, celebrating its 40th anniversary, if you can believe that one,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. So thank you guys all so much for being here with us on another episode of the Let's Talk Movies podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about us, and we'll see you on the next episode.